always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why, always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin takes me back to the time met you on a Friday, halfway out at the door of the club, playing soul on the weekends. Stayed in bed till Wednesday, fell in love with you right there and then. I was young, couldn't see that. Leather jacket, though it's too cold. Saw your face in the crowd, and I think without eyes, her just perfect. Yeah, she's beautiful. Never thought you'd be here. It took me by surprise when I met you in the doorway. And a friend of a friend, never thought I would see you this soon, but hope she really loves you, 'cause I swear you deserve everything. Wish that I knew that sooner. We got sober, it was over, but I told you I'd do it all over again. At your place or a spring break, a heartache, I'd do it all over again. Do it all over Tell me a lie, and I tell you too. Say that I'm happy for the two of you. You wanna be friends, but I don't think I can. But I wanna be happy, happy for you.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice. We time, you I know how to make me feel right. I can't help how. Let the sweet talk, I'm already on my way. I'm pulling up, don't be late. I'm gliding through all the lanes. Sweet talk, you need to say less to me. No need for no flowers, babe. I'm already on my way, on my way. Why you blushing? Yeah, sweet concussion. Oh, you miss my touching. Good girl. Show me something, give me more than one thing. I need more than less than I do. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, it feels so nice. I can't help how. Let the sweet talk,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week number 2 of the Badass University All-Stars League. For the first time ever, and I mean ever, to be seen on the internet. I'm going to be lighting up the mics this time around with none other than the man himself, Cairo. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well.
Oh, I'm super excited. I mean, it's a repeat of last season's semi-final for the first game, and I mean, what better game to get started off with to those?
It's going to be really, really great. Naturally, as you already saw in the sort of just like the last scene before we jumped over to our glorious faces, we are going to be starting off Playday number 3 of week number 2 with Team Trident going up against IOM. Now, personally, I'm a little bit hazy on what the result was from last season, so why don't you go ahead and actually tell us what that was for the last season's semifinal? Because I'm pretty sure, you know, you've got a better memory than I do, so yeah, let's hear it. I think...
Trying ended up winning out on Clubhouse 7-5 against IOM. If I remember correctly, there was a few players that aren't going to be playing in this one, so it'll be interesting to see how the two rosters match up.
It certainly will, and naturally, if we're actually going to continue sort of like biting and, you know, grasping at the last semifinal from last season, that particular matchup was played on, as you said, it was played on Clubhouse, and that is a real possibility here to kick things off, because naturally, Team Trident, they played their particular matchup last week against Veggie Patch, if I'm not mistaken. That took place on Borrigan. IOM, on the other hand, they played up against not Lockdown Ludens, that is still a ways down the road. They played against the Deviants on Villa. That was a matchup that I personally had the pleasure of casting as well with Whippet, but because of the fact that it was Villa and we saw the same old strategies kind of just be recycled round after round, it wasn't that much of a pleasure. But, you know, side tangent aside, we shan't be returning to either one of those two maps, so there is a real possibility that we might actually have a repeat of last season's semi-final.
Yeah, it's interesting. Triton have had a slow start as well, obviously losing out to Veggie Patch 7-3. So I'm interested to see how they kind of bounce back from that defeat. IOM, they did a reverse sweep on Villa. You got the pleasure to cast it, as you've said. So again, I'm interested to see how they try and continue their streak and potentially go for a bit of a, I guess you could say, a grudge match in the sense that they want their revenge for the semi-final loss. Something that I wanted to point out, though, Udos, is if you actually notice and we have a look at IOM's historic bans when it comes to maps, they always like to ban Chalet, Consulate, and Coastline. So, I mean, Triton could really abuse that, especially with the fact that we saw Triton play so well on Chalet in the final against Lockdown Ludens.
Yeah, it's a massive possibility. Although I am a bit sad that almost each and every single one of the maps that starts with the letter C is on their ban list as well, because naturally those tend to be some of the most fun ones as well, with the sole exception of Clubhouse. That is a bit of a boring one nevertheless. But naturally, that isn't the only matchup that we have this evening. There's still plenty of action to take place here. If I can just quickly get the schedule, because I'm a very bad caster and I clearly should not be hosting and leading things on in. I'm quite obviously just stalling for time right here as I'm casually scrolling through Liquipedia. And for some reason, Liquipedia doesn't want to play nice with me, so this has gone off to a very swell start, as you can see.
I know the second match is going to be Combat Wombats versus Poggy Woggy. I mean, that's going to be a good game as well. Certain players with the likes of Hyde, Call Me Dicta, there's also GMXC that I played with again in the last season. So I'm excited to see how those two teams match up as well.
Naturally, and then our last matchup of the evening, which is going to be taking place roughly 2 hours from now, that is going to be Atlas versus Veggie Patch as well. So that is essentially the schedule that we have got for this evening. But let's actually just jump back to Team Trident as well as IOM, because I don't believe that we can show you guys the rosters on screen as well. I will just get confirmation from Noah in a hot second if we can do that. If not, then we'll just quickly read out the actual players, in case you're not already familiar with all of the gladiators that you'll be battling it out in our first arena for tonight. On the side of IOM, Imperium of Mondem, names that you should already be familiar with. We've got Angelix, Ozzy, Scipio, Yukio, as well as Avon. On the opposing side, Team Trident, we've got Octagon, Replay, Matum, Sardine, and Miley Saurus. Miley Cyrus is a banging name, by the way. That is just something that it's basically just kind of like the how do I word this delicately? It's kind of like an unspoken rule within BUAL. You've got to have a badass name to be able to participate. That's that's what I love so much about this platform.
Well, I mean, it's called Badass University All-Stars. You can't have a terrible name if you want to play. But, I mean, we've got to point out some names here on both teams. I want to just point out Scipio and Angelix on IOM. Those two guys are absolute fraggers. They're scary, especially. I've played with them in a comp setting, and those two guys, like, you could just be sitting in a 5v5, and next thing you know, you've basically won the round because the two guys have just popped off.
They are. I every single time that I hear the name Angelix, I don't necessarily get struck with some PTSD. Instead, I have a very, very fond memory. I have a very, very fond memory of one of the matches that I casted with Jerry last season, where Angelix managed to get a collateral headshot through a wall as well. It is something that I'm pretty sure was clipped, and it was just such a gorgeous sight to see. You were on the receiving end of it, not of the headshot itself, but you were playing against them at the time as well. Oh, you were on the receiving end.
I was on the receiving end of it. I was thermite charging onto, I think it was kitchen wall from meeting, and the next thing I just dropped dead, and I had some pretty words to say, to be honest.
That is unlucky. That is unlucky. But it was something so glorious to watch. Regardless, though, I do believe we can actually go ahead and jump into the map bans. I believe that Noah can confirm that those are indeed ready for us. So let's go ahead and actually pull those up on screen. Cairo, why don't you go ahead and walk us through?
Well, obviously we've seen the two auto bans here with Oregon and Villa. I've pointed out that I'm expecting at least a Chalet ban because Triton did so well last time. Ghostline and Consulate being banned, obviously that's two of IOM's kind of comfort bans when it comes to the map bans section. So I'm expecting potentially, yep, there it is, back to Clubhouse, back to a rematch on the original map that these two teams played against each other. That is going to be an absolute banger. But on top of that though, maybe trying to read into this and could maybe see a couple of pocket strats, but I mean, we'll need to see what happens.
Yeah, we will need to see what happens. The one thing that I'm always sort of going to be asking before we hop into any match of Siege in this current day and age is what's going to happen exactly with Flores, because naturally he has started to take the reins as opposed to Ash. He's kind of seen a massive dip in overall pick rate ever since the Argentinian was introduced into the game itself. And especially on Clubhouse, you know, that's no exception whatsoever, especially if you go, for example, downstairs into, I want to say Stockroom, right? That's directly below Cash. And those Rotero drones, right? You can hop with them. You can basically hop up all of those racks inside of the storage room and then stick it to the floor beneath Cash to try to get yourself a lucky kill. There is just so much creativity that can be done with Flores, so I'm pretty excited in the event that he makes it through the ban phase this evening, because it's going to be a massive treat to see the Argentinians actually see his play on Clubhouse. It's something that I personally haven't seen yet thus far. I've seen him a boatload last week on Villa, and that's about actually where it stops. There is the only thing that really limits how you can use those Rotero drones is your own creativity and imagination. So I'm really hoping that we'll get to see plenty of Flores this evening between these two.
It's not only that though, we've got to also talk about the fact that Flores is great for opening up walls. I think, well, he's not a hard breacher, but he's great at getting things off of the walls, whether it be bandit charges, Cade devices, mute jammers, or even some players that are trying to play aggressive. You can kind of flush them out of position. So again, as you've said, it goes into the creativity aspect of teams, and even maybe the teamwork of teams, asking them to maybe coordinate. If you're going to push a player out, is there going to be someone to catch them as they rotate, etc.? So that's one thing that I'll be interested to see. Another thing is Clubhouse is quite unique in the fact that every ban demands a different playstyle, whether that be a Habana ban or maybe something different, an Ace ban that we don't see often. But personally, for me, you should be comfortable in actually leaving Thatcher on the board now, because Habana is so strong.
Habana is extremely strong, and that also does bring up another question. Like, obviously, as you were talking about the Hard Breachers, I then sort of started to daydream a little bit about Thermite as well, because naturally he has seen quite the resurgence in terms of overall pick rates since his smoke grenades got passed over towards him from Ace. Naturally, back in the day, Ace wasn't actually banned out all too often, specifically within BUAL as well, and that just meant that Thermite was pushed off to the side for about 3 months or so, probably even longer. But now he's starting to make quite the massive comeback as well. So I'm pretty sure that we'll naturally see a Hibana ban on Clubhouse. It's only right to ban her out. She is the queen of getting literally anything and everything open on Clubhouse, because there is just that many bases that you have to cover as a hard breacher. And that does mean that you will have other substitutes, and Thermite is obviously going to be one of those picks, but there's still Maverick that you have to deal with. Maverick in combination with Thermite means that you can get literally any wall open. You just draw a quick little hole at the top of it, toss a grenade on through, and then Thermite places down his charge, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a wall open in about 10 to 15 seconds. And that does beg the question on the side of the defense. They now have not necessarily a new challenge to deal with, because keeping those walls closed off for as long as possible is something that they have had to deal with since the dawn of Rainbow Six Siege. But we're in this stage of the meta right now where teams have to essentially be able to adapt much, much faster to that specific event happening really, really rapidly. And that's where I think the main focus of tonight's matchup between IOM and Team Trident is going to be on Clubhouse.
Yeah, big time. I mean, we've talked a lot about attacker bans here, Tudos, but we've not talked much about the fact that there is also defender bans, right? We always see that Cade being the first initial defender ban from the attackers due to the fact that, I mean, you have to keep the hatches closed when defending downstairs. He's almost... sorry, you have to keep the attacker, get the hatches open, sorry, I should say, rather than keeping them shut. Cade just is so great at keeping them closed. So another thing is what we usually see is a Mira ban, and I always feel as if it's a comfort ban when it comes to Clubhouse, right? You think about it.
When it comes to any map, almost.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to see something different. I want to see maybe a Valkyrie ban, deny that intel, potentially even ban out Bandit as well, and make sure that all the walls get open no matter what, and then force them into a bit of a sticky situation, maybe even possibly a Wamai.
I don't know. Possibilities are endless. Naturally, on both sides, we have 30 different operators. So, it's potentially limitless to a certain extent. I do hear confirmation that we are just about ready to actually hop into the matchup as well, so we won't have to bore you with our waffle any longer. We've got Team Trident starting off on the defense on Clubhouse with IOM on the attack. So, Cairo, let's go ahead and see exactly if our quote-unquote predictions and analysis are going to actually come true. Starting off with Team Trident, they're going to take the first ban, and it's indeed going to be that Thatcher. No surprise whatsoever.
Yep. Well, much to Thatcher's disappointment, it didn't come home as we see in the chat, but we'll need to see if potentially who the next person is that is going to go home in terms of the attackers. I mean, let's be honest here, Tudos, it probably will be that Maverick potentially, maybe Habana, but I mean, I can see this easily being, oh, there she is, Maverick's on the board. That means that, I mean, the walls will essentially get open here.
Yeah, indeed they will. And specifically when it comes to attacking the basement as well, there are just that many other substitutes that you can actually bring out. So, this is going to be a relatively standardized kind of Clubhouse by the looks of it. Sure, we'll see a couple of interesting things transpire here and there, but I think this pretty much just suits almost each and every other single kind of Clubhouse that we have seen over the last couple of months. Valkyrie, one of the Navy SEAL operators, is going to make up the last defensive ban as well, and that technically does mean that Mira is left on the table. I don't suspect we will see her on CCTV if that is where Team Trident actually choose to visit first. It's highly unlikely because Mira just isn't that great on that particular bomb site anymore. There's only one real place that you can actually put one of your black windows onto. That's the top of the red staircase. And aside from that, you don't really have a good alternative potentially on the main wall as well, just as a smidgen of a deterrent. But Mira is going to have a massive impact on Master Bedroom and Gym. So if certainly Team Trident have also incorporated that into their own site rotation, so it's likely we'll see Mira back then as well, but that's all in the future for the time being. For now, CCTV and cache. And the one thing that I actually do want to bring up, and one thing that we should really, really discuss, is the Montaigne being brought out. Henshi's going to be donning the mountain himself, and that leads me to believe that IOM, they're going to be shifting a lot of their focus over towards Garage and taking control of that portion of the map as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the pressure that you can create with a Monty is crazy. Just like, it's almost phantom pressure because all he's doing is walking towards you, and then you've got that kind of instinctive panic when you've got a shield walking towards you. I mean, he's the rock, the mountain. That's what it means. Yep. So I mean, easily you could be kind of intimidated by that. But something we talk about Triton's lineup, and I mean, we're not seeing anything out of the ordinary here. We've got a Goyo, Wamai, Jaeger, Melusi, and a Mute. So something about the Goyle, instead of maybe like a smoke, is the fact that they might be lacking on the denial. There is 3 C4s, but they could be easily expended depending on how IOM push this.
I'm pretty sure the Team Trident may have thought about this. It really depends on what DJ is going to be doing with that Surrey Torch himself, but if he creates a hole, as he is starting to do momentarily, it's entirely possible that Team Trident may just toss a C4 through there, but I don't think that's going to be possible. I think DJ's just going to quickly Maverick the wall. Elsewhere, though, Hench, he's already spotted out the Wamai of Trex at the top of Rafters. He doesn't have anyone to technically pinch him out, but there it is. Cute was already prepped and ready, so just like that, IOM have secured themselves the opening frag, and now they have claimed control of Garage. The moment that the CCTV breach gets open as well, they will have a 2-pronged attack to get that defuse down. Yukio chimes in with one of their own. Sardine is able to shut down DJ with that C4 being tossed out so eloquently through one of the holes, and just like that, well, it's an entire collapse on the side of Team Trident as Replays the next to fall.
Yeah, Replay falling there. Now it's down to a 2 versus 4 situation, and the health looking lacking here for the side of Triton. And look at that, Octagon going down as well. Less than 25 HP with the plant going down here. 2 doors. Sardine just not able to even pick up a single frag there. So well played from IOM to create that phantom pressure, to create, I mean, moments of madness and just capitalise on the mistakes of Triton. Something that we've got to talk about, though, is the fact that CCTV and Cash isn't the stronghold that it once used to be. I mean, as casters, we've got to talk about it. It's just, I mean, slowly falling to the wayside in favour of the attackers.
It really is. I mean, I don't want to say it's that unplayable. It certainly isn't as bad as it once was back in Vanilla Siege before Clubhouse got its rework. If you were playing back in the day, like 5 years back, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't know how bad Clubhouse CCTV was 5 years ago, just quickly give that a short little Google in your browser, and you'll soon learn why it was such a horrendous bomb site. But obviously, as things stand right now, it has become fairly attacker-sided. It may soon begin to drop off in popularity the way that AVG on Villa is as well, because it's already been basically entirely figured out by the offensive side. There is just very little that you can do as a defender to really keep the attackers at bay, just because of, that's the way that the bomb site itself has been built from the ground up. That's its architecture by nature. There's not much that you can do differently. I saw a couple of strokes of brilliance on the side of Team Trident, specifically that C4 that was tossed out to deal with the Maverick that was cutting torches, but it simply wasn't enough, because the moment that IOM grabbed themselves Garage presence, it was basically like, we already closed the chapter on that. There's nothing else that they can do. The moment that Hench made his way through as the Montaigne, well, that's the end of it.
Yeah, the way they set up was brilliant with the crossfires, etc. They were playing in twos. I mean, you had the Monte getting the plant down with, I think, at least 2 players covering them. And at that point, when there's so little man count as well, it's going to be hard. But let's look towards this round, 2 doors. It looks as if Triton have went for a bit of a pseudo SSG style roam here, as we see Moz. I thought it was Moz that was up roaming, but no, it's actually the Jaeger and the Vigil, and they can create and waste so much time up in the top floor, especially just creating, again, as what I said before, phantom pressure, using that Vigil ability to create the spikes on drones to make them believe that they're still in the area that they've just vacated. I mean, you can go downstairs, stay in bar, and still have the spikes going up to drones that are in the second floor.
It might be a little bit premature. They've already scampered away downstairs over towards the bomb site as well, and just like that, you've effectively only wasted, well, dare I say, no time at all, because it does usually take around a full minute for the attacking team to drone out each and every single nook and cranny of the map before they get to work on the verticality. So I genuinely do think that Team Trident, specifically Octagon and Replay, could have lingered on the top floor just a bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. Created some sort of resistance, especially when pushing through construction. I mean, they just obviously believe that the man count is much more favourable in their when it comes to that. But I mean, if I read right, there's only 4 men on site, so where is the 5th?
Might be over deep inside of blue or no? Okay. It's replay inside the dirt, which is a bit of an oddity. Typically, you will see a smoke, namely Trexno, sit inside of blue because that's just what smokes do. It's it's been basically one of those unspoken rules of Clubhouse ever since its introduction way back in vanilla. But sure, you'll set over replay there because Trexno is actually playing on the church wall instead. The left-hand side of that was actually opened up, so clearly Team Trident have thought out exactly where they want to force IOM's hand towards this push. But as you can see, Hench, he's already got his eye keen over towards that position. All they need is for somebody to waltz on in, blow that up, and then boom, they've got entry into church as well. But Hench, look, he's already inside, and Yukio is able to find the first frag onto Octagon just like that. It's an entire collapse as Matems is the next to fall. Sardine collapsed back with one of his own, but Trexno is in a horrible position, cleaned up by Hench as Scipio is left in the DBNO status. A 2v3 effectively for Sardine and Replay to clutch up. As we hit mission critical, the timer starts to flash red. 9mm rounds now raining deep in towards church as Sardine finds his cleanup onto Scipio as well. Nearly decapitates DJ, but the plant is already gone down. The timer has been reset. Replay is able to, well, turn this into a 1v1 apparently as he gets a nice double kill now. He just has to go through Cute Machine, who's on the opposite end of the bar. Was entirely unbeknownst to that particular position, and just like that, IOM, they were able to clutch it out when things got just a tad bit too uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was getting uncomfortable watching it, but Angelix, I mean, using that mechanical skill that he's well renowned for and taking down the last remaining player of Triton, it just seemed to end up being a bit of a bloodbath towards the end. Yukio sneaking in the back of sight and just, I mean, catching players off guard. It was so well played from him. I believe he came down blue, but I'm not too sure. And next thing you know, IOM just pushed through, the Monty creating that chaos again. And I mean, IOM, they're just capitalising on everything. Hench, I definitely has to be said that he is the absolute wild card in this. He's doing so much that people don't realise. You could easily say that Triton are worried too much about the Monty. They need to start coordinating and dealing with him properly.
And the question is really, how do you deal with him properly? It's a very, very interesting dynamic that we're seeing here. What Hench exhibits, it's utter balls of steel. I think that's the only way that I can actually word it, because don't get me wrong, if you've been reading up on any of the patch notes in your life playing this game, you will know that Montaigne is no longer the powerhouse that he once was. He will stagger the moment that you melee him while he has his shield up, exposing him as well. Back in the day, he used to be able to one-shot people from 15 meters away with a revolver because it was just laser-like accuracy. Montaigne is not in a good state in terms of overall power, but what is Hench doing differently? Why is this working? I'll tell you. He throws caution to the wind. He doesn't give a rat's ass about what he does. He's just there to apply pressure, and if he loses his life, well, so be it. And then everyone else on the side of IOM, they're just ready to receive. They just quickly, very quickly follow him up. They back him up. And if Hench goes down, well, guess what? They'll get the trade regardless.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the thing is, though, is Hench isn't just the solo kind of catalyst in this whole thing. Is the fact that IOM are just working so well together. I mean, you just see how quickly they're able to capitalise on the mistakes, again, that the Monty is creating. The Monty's the creator, but the rest are like the kind of executioners in a sense. And something interesting here is there's not so much as an extensive roam as last time, but we are seeing Replay actually hide and look in towards that main door area. I wonder if IOM will be able to potentially catch him off, as we see him almost a bit of a kind of pinch as Scipio is on the jacuzzi balcony. So, Two Doors, what do you want to see from IOM when it goes from this kind of, how'd you put it, this roam clear? Do you think they'll be able to catch off Replay?
I don't know. It's a very awkward position for someone to be sat in because you're just exposed to so many angles, but I do appreciate the fact that Team Triton are trying something a tad bit differently, potentially to try to catch IOM off guard. This is simply going to rely to rely on good intel gathering on the side of IOM. They've already cleared out the top floor, but not necessarily in record time. They did it much faster last time around, but now they have another hurdle to get past. As you said, this first floor, it is swarmed with defenders, and, well, the first one's about to strike. DJ is the first man to fall on the side of IOM, as, unfortunately, IOM, they were completely unbeknownst to Sardine's position. Now he actually locks horns with Hench himself as he scampers even further into Strip Club. And as you said right there, oh no, oh no. Yukio was the next to fall, and that was the last of IOM's hard breach.
Yeah, it looks as if this Monty's trying to create another opportunity onto the Mozzie. Scipio is there to try and collect the kill, but I mean, the Mozzie is just beating back and forth with this Monty. It's a bit of... Oh, there he goes, finally, Scipio swinging wide, swinging hard, and actually taking out Sardine. So there you go, there goes the Mozzie, but there's still 4 remaining players, and the time is starting to tick down very quickly, and there's 3 smoke canisters to go, and you know what, their worth is going to get even more and more as this clock ticks down even more. I believe we're still waiting for the first smoke babe to actually be popped, and I can imagine it'll be very quick, and there it is. Hench trying to push through them. Monty being isolated now. Replay getting that kill onto Cute Machine, and Scipio getting one back, and now it's up to the Monty and the Ayana. The Ayana put down into the dirt, try and win the first round of this split.
I really, really, really loved that toxic babe that was tossed on out over towards the doorway over by Moto. As you said, it effectively isolated Hench from his teammates. And you can't exactly push through one of those without taking, let's say, 60 to 70 points worth of damage. I hate to say this, but IOM, the moment that they lost 2 players, they basically found themselves in a situation where the round was nearly impossible to recover. It took a bit of a Hail Mary for them to just quickly waltz down the main staircase and see if they could make the best out of a bad situation. And don't get me wrong, they tried, but they lost the early game really, really difficultly. And while we're still focusing on positives, I really love the adaptation on the side of Team Trident. In round number 2, they were roaming really, really heavily on the top floor, but they were forced out of it just as quickly. And then they thought to themselves, hey, let's quickly shake things up a notch. Let's see what we can do a tad bit differently. And then they instead chose to sit on the first floor, something that IOM may not have been expecting. As you saw, Yukio and DJ, they were caught off because they weren't clearing their corners, because it wasn't expected. Keep your opponents on your toes. Keep them thinking. Keep them waiting. That's what won Trident last round.
Yeah, I definitely think the adaptation was absolutely huge. Instead of dropping all the way back, they continued to lock on towards bar gaming, and I think there was a bit of complacency from IOM when it comes to their droning. I mean, you need to drone out every single floor, even strip, because I don't know how many times I've seen a player just kind of look back in towards bar and just absolutely collapse onto anybody on hatches. I mean, when you think of it, IOM didn't really get any utility work done in that last round there. They weren't allowed to do anything because, the important players, your Maverick and that, were dropped early. And when you're losing key players, key stakeholders in this round, it's a recipe for disaster.
It really, really can be. Let's hope that IOM can keep Yukio intact for as long as possible this time around. If I'm not mistaken, he's already over by Jacuzzi, so that portion, or that particular wall, is going to be opened up, but then naturally you've got to then be able to force your way through Bathroom. Over by Bathroom, there's a mirror window already prepped and ready. The same thing goes for Logi. So IOM, they already have a couple of hurdles to get through. They don't necessarily have a Twitch to deal with these mirror windows, so they have to resort to other means to be able to dispose of them, which is in and of itself another challenge. As we can see, Hench, he's already taken a boatload of damage. He is basically a single Pokeball away from death, or perchance even a misplaced frag grenade. I don't know. I'm only saying misplaced frag grenade because there's still 5 in the back pockets of IOM. Anything can go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And look, Matems has created a cross here. Finally, oh my god, look at the kills. Octagon with a double there, and the diffuser dropped cold. Sardine and Octagon, they've created a cross. Matems playing really well there to support the players inside of CCTV. And now, look, there's a bit of a stalling here from IOM. Yukio and Cute Machine are able to stay alive, but DJ7 and Hench, come on, boys. You need to keep all 5 alive. They were just being a bit aggressive in towards CCTV, and, they got punished for it.
They really, really did. And now, Well, they're relegated to just a couple of very specific avenues, and the diffuser has been dropped very, very deeply inside a cache. It may also be entirely unrecoverable. I simply don't know for the time being, but Scipio's going to open up the castle barricade over by Jim, and they've already spotted out Replay that's currently hidden inside a bathroom, so they're going to try to dislodge him. If I'm not mistaken, that bathroom floorboard, well, it may or may not be destructible, so a frag grenade could potentially do the trick, but Cute Machine unfortunately doesn't have that info as a proper luxury, let's say. But Scipio, taking matters into their own hands, just charges directly into bathroom, picks up 1 kill before being traded out by Mateums, and now Cute Machine and Yukio, well, they've got the element of surprise on their hand, or so I thought. That rotation into Logic was completely read into and cleaned up by Trexno. Now Yukio with just 10 seconds left. It won't be a happy new year by the time the clock expires. Unfortunately, it is going to be a round loss on the side of IOM. So Team Trident really truly showing their colors on Gym Bedroom, and just once again giving us a really good exhibition as to why it has become one of the strongest bomb sites on Clubhouse, if not the best bomb site in my opinion.
Oh, Matt, finally we see why Triton were our champions last season. They're finally showing their colours, and they get 2 rounds in a row. And we head back to CCTV and Cash. There's no point talking about the last 2 rounds, because again, well, they've won it out, they played really well. We've got to talk about how they're going to adapt on this site, because we haven't seen it twice in a row. We just saw IOM win it out, I mean, indefinitely.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to see different here, Two Doors? I mean, do you want to see Triton maybe double up on Garage to try and stop that Monty push? Maybe even put more pressure on towards the door?
I think, obviously, given the recent history and what we saw on CCTV and Cash at the very start of Clubhouse, Team Trident, they need to put a lot more attention over towards Garage. It's something that needs to happen. There are no other 2 ways to cut it. But the decision that they have made this time around is a bit perplexing. They have actually dropped the smoke in lieu of a Legion. Now, naturally, both of these 2 characters, Smoke and Legion, they can deal with a Monty exceptionally well. Naturally, those goo mines, they will force Montaigne, that is brought out by Hench, to take dot damage repeatedly, 4 damage per tick. Until you eventually drop your shield and decide to remove that from your ankle, you're going to be bleeding out really heavily. But one thing that I actually do want to bring up is, why didn't Team Trident actually double up on that potential? You could have intentionally just dropped out either the Jaeger or the Omai, and bring out both the Smoke and Legion to actually set down that Monty even quicker. It is something to think about, but unfortunately enough, we won't see it actually happen this time around. But regardless, Team Trident, they have definitely thought this out. They have brought out a counter in the form of Legion to dispose of Hench as soon as humanly possible.
Well, this is it. It looks as if there is a bit of a double up on Garage though here, 2 Doors. So obviously the Monty trying to create that pressure as he did previous. And it looks as if the Zofia is trying to capitalise it on again, but with 2 players in towards Garage, 2 crosses can be set up on the door, stopping the Monty from pushing up. Obviously, again, we already talked about the fact that there was Legion mines on the main stairs, that adaptation again from Triton, and there goes the Goyle Shield in towards CCTV. So IOM, I mean, when you talk about the utility game, they're doing pretty well here. You're 2 minutes in, you've already, I mean, doing work on towards main breach, you've got rid of Goyle Shields. Have they got rid of the Legion mines? Remember, look, we always talked about it before, the Monty's starting to push up. There's a bit of a cross. I mean, how are they going to capitalise on this?
He just pushed up through Rafters stairs, and there wasn't a single Legion mine that he walked into. That is a bit confusing. I did hear Sardine toss out 1, but unfortunately it doesn't connect. What does connect are those 9mm rounds onto Cute Machine. Trexno picks up the first kill of round number 5, and that means that Hench, unfortunately enough, he's all on his lonesome as Octagon, and is able to shut down Yukio. Now Hench, he's just eating Pokeballs left, right, and center, which is a bit of an oof to say the least, and now those goo mines are being tossed out as a primary deterrent. So it's entirely possible that Hench is going to be forced to forfeit this position as he wanders his way down into Lounge. Frag Grenade is prepped and ready, and I believe that may or may not have dealt with the Mute Jammer, so Selmas can now get to work as well. 50 seconds left to play, with IOM find themselves 2 men down as the C4 is tossed out. Deals a tiny bit of damage over towards Hench, but once again, he's got nobody to back him up at the top of Red Staircase. He is only there to be a distraction as Scipio is able to find Trexno. Now, One more player to go before this is all even Steven. Scipio now pushing in through Garage as they may have realized that that position is entirely forfeit. Trident, they're actually stacked up inside of Cash and CCTV. This is going to be a bloodbath to say the least, but is not working in IOM's favor, not at all. Sardine finds the first. Now in a 4v2 situation with Hench once again being entirely isolated away from DJ. He is forced back down the staircase as the clock begins to flash red. DJ, he pushes directly into Octagon's open arms before finding one kill, and just like that, Hench, well, we'll have to wave goodbye to him as well. That was, all in all, a much more convincing round from Team Trident, and it, once again, boils down to IOM, or excuse me, to Team Trident winning out a lot of their early engagements.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, the thing is, though, I'm starting to get worried for IOM because they're starting to forfeit the opportunity that they had to take a massive advantage on Clubhouse. I mean, historically, it has been very defender-sided, but if you look towards the short history of this map, then kudos, we start to see that the attackers were winning it a lot more than what we're used to. So yeah, maybe Triton are actually the ones who win out this split. But again, we'll need to see what IOM can do in the defense. And again, we head back to Church and Arsenal. And with a Nomad being brought instead of the Monte, I'm interested here. I think we saw a flash of a Flores as well.
Yeah, we are seeing Flores brought up by yours truly, Yukio. One thing that I actually did want to quickly nitpick on, and that may have actually led to IOM's demise in the previous round, is that they only brought out one Heartbreacher, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, just the Ace. They didn't have a Maverick to double up. Instead, they actually had a Hench bring out the Trampoline, which, I don't know, maybe I'm reading a bit too deep into this, but I do think it's a real possibility that IOM potentially lost out that round because they failed to actually set up enough pressure on the side of Team Trident by getting those walls open up early on. I don't know, but regardless, that's in the past for the time being. Team Trident, what are y'all going to do differently this time around? I'm hoping that we'll see some kind of roam. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same as what we saw in round number 3, because truth be told, that worked out really, really magically. It is the sole reason why they won that round. They won their crucial engagements, but I don't think we'll see that this time around because naturally that Montaigne has been dropped. That is one less headache for the defense to worry about.
Yeah, I know, but it's one more gun that can come alive, two doors in this round, especially with more utility that can actually be brought. Those flanks won't come out. Thing is, it wasn't flanks that shut them down on this round last time. It was just misthrown and miscommunication. I mean, bad teamwork. So we'll need to see if, I mean, that adaptation comes out from IOM, but maybe Replay getting ready for a bit of a flank. But no, Caster's Curse comes out as he drops back into Secret.
And there he shall remain. Just for a little longer. Just for a little longer until IOM begin to clear him out. But I believe he may have spotted out a couple of drones, and now he realizes that the heat, it's getting a bit too unbearable, so off he goes. Default camera has yet to be shot out. Oh, tisk, 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 IOM. But regardless, though, they're able to find the opening frag onto Replay, so not all hope is lost on the side of the offense for the time being. Octagon now taking, well, absolutely no damage, but is a bit worrisome about potentially taking any from the players inside of Blue. Luckily enough for him, that hatch has yet to be opened up, so IOM, they'll likely have to rotate DJ on over, but that's no longer a possibility. He's already expended all of his Selma charges. I believe one of them may have been impact tricked, and that was just for actually getting Kitchen Hatch open. Maybe a little bit of mismanagement and utility, but it may soon start to pay off. DJ is going for the plant, but soon forced off. Engulfed in smoke, Mateums is able to shut him down, but now the kill feed is nothing but a sea of oranges. Cute and Scipio both chime in with one of their own, and now Sardine and Trexno, well, they're left in a 2v4 scenario. Cute Machine recovers that diffuser and can once again reinitiate the plant. Sardine, within hugging distance of Hench, but is able to walk away from that frag relatively unscathed. This Cute Machine is able to collect the final 2 frags, and IOM, they have grabbed themselves a third round, tying up the scoreline in a neat little bow as we head off into the next second half. It's an even 3-3 split.
Yeah, I'm going to speculate that that's a pretty good split for both teams, to be honest. Triton looking weak in the early split, but then IOM finally be able to get that third and final round. In the grand scheme of things, I mean, I could easily see this next round, so this next split being the same kind of scoring as heading to overtime. But again, I mean, Triton could easily take an advantage here. We've already spoke about the age of map pool, how attackers are slowly starting to get do better here, and Mateum's bringing out a Monty. I mean, Are we going to see the same kind of tactics being engaged by by Triton that IOM used? I mean, they've already almost read into it with a Legion being brought.
I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility, and I certainly don't want to discourage Team Trident from taking a page out of IOM's book, because, I mean, in the early 2 rounds, at the very, very start of this particular showdown between these 2 squads, that Montaigne worked out to great success.
Yeah.
But the main reason why I'm skeptical about it, and I'm just a tad bit skeptical about it, is because of the fact that IOM, they are very, very well accustomed to running with a Montaigne. If you know how to run a particular strategy, that means you can also take it down from the inside out. This may potentially backfire for Team Trident. The fact that they have brought out a Monty could potentially spell disaster for them in the event that they are not as experienced with the French Mountain as IOM are.
Yeah, especially losing Matums. I mean, that man is pretty good when he's got a gun in his hand. And I mean, Cute Machine potentially taking up an aggressive position here, but dropping off fairly quickly. DJ7 and him are looking like they're going to try and hold down Garage. A double duo here to see if they can hold that down. But no, he's going to drop off down to Lounge. So, I mean, it looks as if there's somewhat of a kind of first floor roam here. We see the bullets being traded back and forth. But again, nothing being netted. Only Replay losing out the gunfight. And especially when you have the high ground. I believe it was Obi-Wan that said it. High ground is everything. Not those exact words, I'm paraphrasing. Monty being Legion Mind on a 2-minute mark. Cute Machine picking up a great shot there onto Octagon and holding onto Garage continually. The Monty getting ready to push in, but is he going to get picked off? This roam still continues. Scipio getting ready for a bit of a run out here. Is he going to be able to get anything? It doesn't look likely.
I think the garage wall is soft. I think he's willing to wallbang one of the players in case if the information is good. I don't know for the time being. That wall has indeed been opened up, but only the upper half of it, so he can't exactly get any kills from it. The person that can get kills, though, is Cute Machine, as they are just about prepped and ready to get their second, but not willing to go for the run out just yet. Replay will finally be cleaned on up. Nobody was there to back him up, and now Matems has to shift his attention over towards that portion of the map. Luckily enough for Team Trident, though, they have finally been able to barge their way open into Garage, only the lower half of it for the time being, and guess what? They still have to deal with DJ, who's currently stuck over by our corner. And once again, default camera hasn't been shot out. Well, this is a bit of a strange one. Scipio from downtown is able to shut down Trexno, and Sardine, using that lovely little angle to his advantage, picks up DJ. Matems, stranded, soon to be cleaned up over by Rafters as well. I'm starting to think that because of the fact that Team Trident brought out that Montaigne, as I speculated, it may have backfired. Yeah, probably a bit too much than I wanted it to.
Yeah, I think the novelties kind of wore off with the Monty for this matchup anyway. I mean, I think both teams have got him sussed out, and Sardine stuck on the rappel outside. This is kind of looking for exit frags here, seeing if he can get potentially anything before he leaves. And the only thing he's getting is C4 in the face. Inch finally killing Matems, so now Sardine. I mean, you've got to be thinking that Triton are potentially going for a pseudo timeout here. Just kind of talking about what went wrong. I mean, two doors, what did go wrong? Everything they seemed to do, every foot they kind of put forward was almost like 1 foot forward, 2 steps back.
Kind of did feel that way. It really, really did feel that way, and it's really, really difficult to read into this position because naturally we don't have, well, all of the information about all of the events that actually did take place. The one thing that we can say for certain is that Team Trident, they didn't match the exact same kind of success that IOM had previously with claiming control of Garage. And I think that really just stems from the fact that, well, Matems, I think it was Matems, right? Matems was on the Montaigne. He wasn't the first person that pushed into Garage. The first engagement, the first bit of contact that we actually saw was Replay taking a mess load of damage from the Wamai that was on top of Rafters. I think that's probably what went wrong, because it made Team Trident a tad bit more spectacle about actually physically pushing into Garage. That's probably what went wrong. And then aside from that, well, it basically just snowballed from the point that the first frag was actually secured on the side of IOM. Replay was already left on very low HP, so if I'm not mistaken, they were actually the second to fall. I think it was Octagon that was the first. But it was just an absolute mess on the side of Team Trident. I really do hate to throw that word around, but
yeah,
that's what spoke to me.
Well, something that we need to talk about here is, I mean, the stakeholders in this match so far. Scipio and Cute Machine both on 19 kills, I mean, accumulated between the two of them. So, in that case, you've got to see if you shut them two down, potentially you could be winning the round for Triton, but I imagine that won't be their win condition. Their win condition will be open up those hatches, maybe open up some sort of wall, whether that be in towards dirt, or maybe in towards a church wall. Get them two open, get your plant down, and then create up the post plant. But before you do that, you do have to do a good roam clear 2 doors. And I mean, from what I can see, IOM don't really have much in terms of a roam.
No, they really don't have any.
Oh, well, that's it. I guess that's the caster's curse.
Yeah, I know Twitch chat can't exactly see my face, but I am thoroughly confused. And as Sardine types in Twitch, not Twitch chat, in all chat, bruh moment. I tend to agree with that one.
I just didn't think there was much of a roam, or if there was any roam. Maybe
Neither did I!
Maybe
I didn't think. No. And then, you know, enter stage left Scipio, and he just one-taps Sardine, sends him into next Friday. What the hell was that?
Oh, well, I mean, that's a huge kill. There goes your Jackal. That means that potentially, if there was anybody roaming above, they could have stayed, actually, I mean, fairly peaceful, fairly quiet. They wouldn't have really had to have been kind of worried about getting scanned, but Scipio, he's doing plenty of scannings, but the scanning's coming from that P10 Roni taking out replay. There goes your Ash, there goes your entry, there goes all sort of soft breach in the grand scheme of things, Tudos. So with, I mean, Ace, Maverick and Ayana, what are they going to do? I mean, they need to find frags, they need to do something quick.
No, quite literally, they need to find frags. They have 4 frag grenades that have been entirely untouched. Each one of them basically equalizes a potential kill, but Team Trident, they don't exactly have an opening for themselves. They need to create opportunity, which is what they've been struggling with, because each and every single time that they've been trying to get an inch, they have unironically given IOM a mile. And it's happening unintentionally because each and every single sort of piece of territory that they are looking to claim, Scipio just randomly happens to be there, and he ruins Team Trident's day. And it becomes really, really difficult to sort of counter that, because Scipio is just a massive unknown factor. He has literally turned Clubhouse into his playground, and there's very little that Team Trident can actually do to salvage it. But okay, a lovely little trade comes on out as DJ is going to ensure that the man count remains with IOM. 20 seconds left to go, and Matems, he's stuck at the top of the main staircase. Defuse is in hand, so options are available, but they are starting to run out really rapidly. Charging his way down the main staircase, he's got his eyes peeled over towards Moto as he finds Yukio. Looks to clean with the frag, so at least you can give yourself a pat on the back for finding one exit, but unfortunately enough, that's all he'll walk away with. And just like that, we have IOM continuing their win streak that started off with the last round of the first half. This is now 3 rounds entirely unanswered on the side of Team Trident, and all IOM need are 2 more to close off Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's scary, but we do head towards gym and bedroom. And I mean, we've been seeing a lot more, I guess, a lot more success from the side of the defence on this site, slowly becoming one of the most successful on the map, especially in the higher tiers of play. So I'm worried for Triton, are they maybe starting to lose momentum? If you remember and cast your eyes back to the last time that Triton played, they won 3 rounds on their half, on their defensive half, and then, it was actually the attacking half. I'm talking nonsense. Triton won 3 rounds anyway on the first half, and then continued to lose every single round straight after. Is it maybe a bit of a problem that Triton have?
I don't know, because honestly, like I said, in round number 3 of the first half, well, round number 3 of the entire matchup, we started to see signs of life on the side of Team Trident, and then it basically snowballed uncontrollably until the very, very last round, where they were on the cusp of actually ending off the first half with a 4-2 split. But since then, they have seen absolutely little to no success. At the very, very start, their overall take of CCTV in round number 7 was just fun. It was just fundamentally broken. Nothing worked in their favor, and IOM seemed to always be one step ahead of them. Last round, it was just Scipio causing chaos, just doing what he does best. there is very little that you can actually do to prevent that from happening. This time around, though, we move on to a tertiary bomb site, and I see a real possibility for Team Trident to strike back because of one factor. Mira isn't present on the IOM. That means that you can much more easily contest the jacuzzi breach as well as the bathroom. And the same thing goes for Logi. Team Trident, they need to be able to read into this, and if they do so properly, then I suspect they'll end off this round in their favor.
Something that I want to point out there is I saw Yukio on the castle, right? He placed his castle barricades down, but instead of getting construction, he went and did main bedroom, which is something you don't often see. But, I mean, something that we've not seen for a while is Octagon picking up a frag onto Scipio. That's a huge kill. This man has been popping up and has been really rampant throughout this matchup. I just want to talk about the impact of placing that castle barricade not on construction. That means the player in towards CCTV, not into CCTV, into Cash. I mean, his rotation can be cut off, and that could be easy pickings for the attackers if they coordinate right.
But Team Trident, they don't seem to bat an eye towards construction, at least not yet. I'm pretty sure that it is going to play a much more pivotal role as the round continues to progress. Octagon is able to shut down Yukio with what I assume was a frag grenade tossed through one of the openings in towards Cash. Trexno doubles down and shuts down Cute Machine as well, so things are starting to fall apart rather rapidly on the side of IOM. Hench and DJ, they're left to their own devices in this 2v5 scenario, and they've got 80 seconds to burn. It looks entirely unlikely as it is soon to be a flawless round. DJ quite literally domed. And the same thing goes for the last remaining player. Octagon is able to read into that rather swiftly, and just like that, Team Trident, they have come back swinging, quite literally, with a flawless round. Just one round away from tying things up. And just as I said earlier in the matchup, as Clubhouse started, we are once again starting to see signs of life from the boys in blue.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, though, Tutos, I mean, if we look back to that last split, right? I mean, IOM won the first 2 rounds, and then Triton won the next 3, then IOM won the last. But, I mean, the difference is IOM are actually defending first this time, so they have the inherent advantage no matter what happens. And as they head to CCTV and Cash, I mean, it was a pretty dominant display from IOM. I don't think we saw the main breach actually get open properly, if I cast my mind back. No, for CCTV.
On IOM's defense.
Yeah.
No, it didn't get opened up properly.
So,
what we saw in that particular round, if I'm not mistaken, was Matems. He was playing on the Maverick as well. What he did, he was trying to Maverick check the wall, but eventually he just remained outside on rappel, and he got himself a frag from it. I think it was onto one of the players that was either in garage rafters or just kind of lingering around the bomb site. So they did get a kill from trying to Maverick trick the wall, but they didn't successfully get it open.
I just got confirmation, by the way, from production. Henge is Avon, just in case you were wondering. But, I mean, that's confirmation that, I mean...
You want me to take over?
Please.
F. Somebody call an ambulance, but not for us, because one of these 2 teams, they're going to be hospitalized relatively soon, depending on how these opening queue engagements work. At the very least, that is what I can only assume. Matems already getting to work on the main breach once again. I wouldn't be surprised if they try the exact same kind of devilry that they did last time around. Rappelling on in, trying to get a couple of frags, and hey, they might be able to find out DJ. He is now aware of that angle as well, and now has to, well, divide his attention between the garage doorway as well as that particular opening over by the breach. It's something that is a bit of a difficult task to juggle as a player over by rafters, but hey, you've already sacrificed yourself to garage. You have to commit to it.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we will actually see this main breach getting open. A lovely angle being taken up by replay. It's a bit awkward to try and contest, especially if you're in red corridor. But finally, right, the Maverick trick has been done this round and the main breach open. So that'll be angles to further put pressure in towards Garage. Again, I mean, there's no much pressure being built. And if that's the case, and if it is a construction take here to those... I mean, those players can sit happy, they can sit tight and actually just deny any plan, create long angles from that kind of garage area, the garage wall that leads all the way into CCTV door. They just need to win their fights, win the gunfights, as we say, the Rotero drill, and start to create the chaos that they're so good at.
Hench is the only player, or excuse me, Avon is the only player that is going to serve as the primary deterrence to try to keep the attackers at bay inside a cache. But Scipio, he's actually mounted up a flank, and he picks up Sardines. So now Team Trident, well, you've got even more things to worry about. Selmas are going to start detonating, and that's going to open up the main breach over towards construction. So they have an extra avenue to work with. But by the looks of it, time's starting to run on out. They've only got 45 seconds to work with, so they're going to have to commit to a construction push for the time being, and Garage is still under IOM's control. Team Trident have forfeited that entire avenue a long time ago, but one thing's for certain, it's going to be a bloodbath between these two squads, although I'm unsure if it's going to work in Team Trident's favor. Replay is the next to fall, left in the DBNO status. As Trexno, he's trying to work his way on up. Scipio is already down below, prepped and ready with the C4, the last one on the side of IOM, as Trexno charges his way on in within hugging distance of Hench, and he loses the gunfight as well. Octagon will take the reins and try to dome him once again, successfully does so, reclaims the defuse and sticks it on the top of the table, and now Scipio as well, no, just Scipio is the last man left standing as DJ is bleeding out. Diffuser will surely go down, and Scipio, he tries to force his way into the rotate, but will be promptly shut down in the blink of an eye. That entire round swung in towards the favor of Team Trident. IOM didn't even know what hit them.
I mean, there was 5 players left. That round should have been IOM's, but they just seemed to lose it. I just created a bit of chaos with the player running deep, and then when the diffuser got dropped, I was like, surely this is it. Surely they get kind of taken out. And I thought the mower, or the lawnmower that can kind of be called the Alder, when that started popping off, I was like, well, this is it. Surely the
Surely it should have been done. Surely it should have been the end of the story, but no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So now we head back to Church and Arsenal. Looks as if IOM don't want to retry that top floor site, and they're just continuing with the rotation here, Toodles.
The one thing that I will pick out from that particular round, especially when it came to the last kind of dying seconds of the round, is I really loved the play that Team Trident exhibited. I hate to sound like an old broken record, but they threw caution to the wind. They started exhibiting raw amounts of unbridled aggression. They were taking very high risk, high reward plays. We saw how many men and operators they threw into cache to try to deal with Hench and get the defuse down, and it worked. They were reaping rewards left, right, and center. They were able to find, if I'm not mistaken, 3 kills, including a down, onto Yukio, who was playing on the Wamai last time around. That was absolutely ridiculous. A Hail Mary strategy in the dying seconds of the round is what won Trident that round, because they maintained the man disadvantage. Keep in mind, it was a 3v5, if not a 3v4 scenario. There was no realistic universe in which they should have won that.
Oh no, Angelix. He finally gets the kill and onto the ace of all people. There goes Ayana, Octagon getting taken down, and a double kill for Cute Machine. Oh, well, that was a great play there. I mean, a risky play. You talked about high risk, high reward. I mean, that's a perfect example of it.
Grab it by the scruff of the neck and just frickin' run with it. That is exactly what Angelix was able to do. And hey, you have already caused so much chaos that Team Trident, they are left without a tangible Heartbreacher. Naturally, they do have Matums still, who can definitely cause some chaos and potentially fulfill that role, but you need time. And Team Trident, they might not have it, but now that they have been able to deal with Angelix inside a kitchen, they certainly do have some to work with. Just over 100 seconds left on the clock, and Matums has already gotten that breach open, or at the very least, the Selmas tossed out by Trexno have already dealt with the garage breach. So now, well, this is the part of the plan, not necessarily of the plan, because the plan was scrapped a long time ago for Team Trident. This is where you have to rethink and try to revitalize the plan.
Well, the thing is, though, the plan should still be to go down dirt and get the plant in where Amory is, open up the hatches with the Maverick Torch, and, I mean, still kind of go with the same plan. You just have to adapt a little bit with what utility you have left. I mean, let's think about it. They still have quite a lot in the grand scheme of things. There's 2 frag grenades, 3 flash grenades, and also you've got the Sophia stuns and the Sophia kind of impacts. On top of that, you have Sardine's gun. That means there's another player dropped, and that is the Maestro. No, sorry, it wasn't even the Maestro, it was the Mute. That's a C4 being lost. Hench in behind on towards bar area. Is he going to swing? Is he going to find Sardine? I mean, Sardine's starting to find Yukio. That's a lot of health lost. 45 seconds left, and I mean, it looks as if those Rotero drones getting ready to maybe displace Hench.
He's actually going to take matters into his own hands. He's actually choosing the aggressive route, but decides to fall back just a tad bit for the time being. And here comes the push. Sardine is the first to fall, and the all the sings, ladies and gents. Whippet might not be here to save, but I surely am. Matems is the next to fall, and Replay tries to force his way in towards Canadian, but guess what? That angle has been being watched this entire time, and Yukio is able to close that off rather swiftly. So, IOM, they were on the cusp of losing that round after a very, very commanding start was exhibited by none other than Cute Machine. 2 frags were found. Not necessarily spawn peaks, but just 2 frags were found outside of Kitchen. From that point onwards, I thought that IOM had initially secured themselves the entire round. And it all, and they, sure, at the end of the day they did, but they almost didn't. That was the thing that was so scary about it. They almost didn't. And then Hench. We've been waiting for him to step up to the plate this entire matchup, and he finally did. He was able to single-handedly deal with all of the pressure and all of the players that were streaming in through Moto, and just like that, 1 headshot, 2 headshot, not necessarily a third, but who cares? IOM were able to get themselves the round in. Because of that, they have secured themselves match point. Also a single point in the event that it does go to OT, but they want the full 3.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, what a better site to do it than CCTV, but if you're trying, you're thinking to yourself, you could easily win this. I mean, I'd start rubbing my hands together, start licking my lips, maybe a bit like Ronaldinho. We've all seen the gif, but can try and actually win this site out. We'll need to see. But, I mean, one thing we definitely have to talk about is the fact that Alda essentially clutched that out. But with Yukio playing passive as well, I mean, he played really well to create that cross and cover the main corridor so that the Alda could cover the door on towards... Oh, unlucky not to get that frag there, Yukio. But, I mean, what I was going to say is, I mean, letting that Alda do its work and actually not have to worry about his back. So, I mean, we've been here 4 times already in this split, I think, if I remember correctly. 2 doors, if that's the case.
Yeah, this is the 5th time.
Oh, this is the 5th time? Well, 5th time in the full matchup. And I mean, with this case, I mean, we already know what they have to do. It's whether Triton can do it effectively. The construction push was actually what, I mean, gave them a result. Can they get that result again?
It's, well... I think the one thing that we can say for sure is that Lightning isn't going to strike twice. If Team Trident are thinking about going for the exact same kind of redonkulous push in towards construction, they have to be prepared for it and simply not working out. Because IOM, they're... dare I say they're going to be ready for it. I dare say that they are going to be ready for that kind of raw, unbridled aggression to be exhibited once again. And Team Trident, they might not have the exact same stroke of luck as last time, but that shouldn't necessarily keep them from going for the exact same strategy. You can see there's already a stack inside of construction. Those Selmas are once again going to be tossed on out so they can get that breach open in record time. The one thing that may be constant, the one thing that may once again happen is Scipio. He is still the unknown factor, and if I remember, I caught him just in the corner of my eye, lingering in strip club. He has remained undetected and unnoticed.
Well, I hope that they don't fall, I mean, prey to the roam that we saw from Scipio, but he's in towards bar, and a little bit of a trade there as 2 players get dropped. One thing we don't want to see get dropped is the Maestro cameras. He's down that Alda that clutched up the last round, and look, we do have Sardine, I believe, on that flank watch, making sure not to be the case, and a great grenade from Octagon. Matem's picking up Yukio, and we could be seeing overtime as all the frags come out. We're in a 4 versus 2 situation. DJ7 and Scipio left to do it all.
a really, really tall task for them to accomplish. DJ and Scipio with a C4 to work with. DJ takes a boatload of damage, and he doesn't expect Replay to get that greedy, but unfortunately enough, well, he'll fall, and now 25 seconds left. The C4 is primed and ready, but it won't connect if you're planting on top of the table itself. I believe it has been dropped, but yet it's yet to actually press the magic button on the Nokia brick. Just like that, clock is going to be reset back to 45 seconds. Scipio was able to find one onto Replay, so this is certainly winnable. Just 3 more players to power through, but Matems is going to keep that from happening at all costs. Team Trident, they were able to muster all of their strength to force us all the way to overtime. It took all 12 rounds of regulation to get here, but we do not have a victor. Not yet. At the very least, 2 more rounds are needed to see who walks away with 2 points and who walks away with just the 1.
Triton flexing their muscles on, the regular time on that last round. Saladin bringing out the buck is an interesting one. As they head to Church and Arsenal, they've not opted for a sledge where you get those grenades. I don't know if that's necessarily the greatest pick in the grand scheme of things, but they already do have 2 sets of nades here, 2 doors. So, yeah. I guess that's it's all right. But Triton, where have they went wrong previously? We saw, a little bit of individual magic from Cute Machine, from Angelix, the Legion. I don't think that'll happen again. I don't think Triton will allow that. So, maybe a roam. I'm not too sure. I feel as if IOM are pulling out. I don't know if you could call it pocket strats, but certainly like one moment that can't happen again. Triton have done the same on 1 round on the attack, so they just need to go through the motions and make sure that kind of, how would you put it? The percentage of error is minimal.
Yeah, I think it's the margin for error.
Yeah, margin for error. I couldn't get the word there.
Yeah. Let's see. IOM. They have seen success on this bomb site twice. Just a couple of rounds ago. In the last 6 rounds, they've been able to win out basement twice without ever dropping it a single time. So this is definitely in IOM's favor. Naturally, the last time around, it got dastardly close, thanks to Angelix being able to find 2 frags relatively early on within the first 40-ish seconds. They were able to secure a victory. Naturally, Team Trident, they're not going to fall prey to the exact same kind of aggression that Angelix may or may not exhibit. We'll just have to wait and see. But one thing's for certain, Team Trident, they've got a roam to deal with. Scipio is over by main stairs, and he might be a bit hungry. His jowls may be salivating, just wanting to eat up some of those attackers, but he's actually fallen back down, I believe, for the time being. Cute Machine still lingers on by the blue stairs and now has finally been forced out. So, Team Trident, they have effectively been able to clear out not necessarily the entire map, but all that they really require to start mounting up some kind of execution.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, we've not really got to see the top floor area because there's not been much action, so I don't know if they're actually clearing that top floor out. I've not seen any drones or anybody's committed upstairs, so that could potentially be an adaptation that IOM could have made to catch off Triton. Maybe that's one for the future for any other teams that play them, but definitely seems like a place of weakness. But anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about this round. As the Buck starts his work, his utility, the Skeleton Key, actually opening up the floor, trying to maybe create a bit of flank watch, create a bit of position here, a bit of, phantom pressure as we've talked about before. Free fire's coming out, but nothing being gained. So all they're really doing here, Triton, is just prepping for that post-plant situation, getting the angles, clearing out players that will be in kind of maybe off positions, but Replay, he's keeping down into blue, and there's nobody actually holding this out. Scipio gets 1 frag, and look, Replay's into sight. Scipio, as in none the wiser, as there goes the kill. Can he get a second? No, shut down fairly early, and with 50 seconds on the clock, it looks as if the man count is in favour of IOM.
For the time being, it is, and I believe IOM have already picked up on the fact that there is indeed 1 extra player stuck inside of blue. That is Trexno, who may have offered himself up to the gods over at Ubisoft, I think. I don't know. But regardless, there's only 30 seconds left for Team Trident to set their plan into motion, and they've already lost 2 bodies trying to do so. And, well, it's only going to get worse from this particular position onwards, as Trexno, he has to force his way either into Armory or Church. Either way, he has 2 players to deal with, and a boatload of bullets to eat up. Octagon is soon going to follow suit at the bottom of main as Matems is forced to push on in. Same thing goes for Trexno, but no, it's been read into. Angelix finds the first. Yukio, leaning the wrong way, is going to lose their life, but Hench is there to pick up the slack. He'll finally be cleaned on up, but no, IOM, they've been able to effectively allow Team Trident to expire their own clock. And just like that, IOM will ensure that they remain undefeated on the basement bomb site. The first to hit OT match point, just a single round away on the attack, is all that stands between themselves and a quick way to wrap up this matchup and get some coffee.
That is a nice round there from IOM, creating the crossfires as the plant almost got down, sorry. I mean, this is the thing though. How did the ace even get into Church? He almost got put in a bit of a position there, and IOM getting taken completely off guard. But again, Alda.
I think IOM intentionally just wanted. Yeah. You saw how they were all positioned. We saw 2 players behind bar and black box. We saw 2 players that were just sitting basically stationary inside of Armory. They realized that they had the man advantage, and regardless as to which avenue Team Trident would have actually picked to try and actually get some kind of execution in motion, both bomb sites were reinforced with 2 players. IOM thought to themselves, we're going to let y'all make the first move. Whichever move it is, you guys are going to lose out your initial gunfights because we have 2 players reinforcing every bomb site. Our refract potential is through the roof. There is nothing you can do. There is no situation in which Team Trident will end up maintaining the man advantage, let alone actually tying up the man count. IOM, they made the right call in basically sitting idly by because the time was already so low that Team Trident had to get reckless. They did get reckless, and they paid a very, very costly price for doing so.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good analysis of the whole round, to be honest, with the way that IOM were playing. I mean, it was a bit passive for me, but the fact that they set up the crossfires, again, obviously worked out wonders. And something that we saw on IOM that was a key factor was the fact that they brung the Monty, and the Monty is back again. He's back in action.
Yep.
Kudos. I mean, they opted for a Nomad, if you remember the last time they attacked us. True. I don't know if necessarily bringing a Monty was a good idea. I mean, obviously he does have that heart breach tool. Maybe that's why they've opted for him, and just kind of going for more gun heavy operators.
I don't know. I think it may be the right call. We'll see exactly how everything pans out in this particular round, but one thing for sure is that Team Trident, they are well and ready to receive that Montaigne pick, as Trexno is on his usual smoke, and Replay once again donning the Legion means that you can deal a lot of dot damage onto Hench himself if he puts the wrong foot forward. One other thing that IOM have got to deal with is this roam presence, as we have touted many a time over the last hour. Team Trident, they are not going to essentially give up a lot of free real estate on the side of IOM. IOM, they've got to work for it. And thus far, they have yet to actually bat an eye. No, they may actually just be throwing all of their eggs into the exact same basket and willing to fast forward this round, as Hench has already barged his way on through. He just needs somebody to potentially, well, you know, kind of like force that Surya gate onto cooldown so he can safely make it through, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, though, that Monty is giving away free information. He's playing almost like a human drone, but Cute Machine, he's going to pick up Sardine. There you go. There goes your Mozzie. A potential C4 gone, but Replay, he's creeping up. He's creeping into stock. But is this Maverick going to be taken off guard? Yes, he is. A great frag there, and there goes Yukio. I mean, that's a great player lost as well. The M4 and frag grenades in tow. But are they going to be able to get the refrag, or are they just focused on this plant? Because, I mean, they're pretty close to it. The smoke canisters are prepped and ready, but the Monty just giving away free information again. I mean, that was 2 impacts lost there, and not a lot of health lost on the side of Henge. So more utility wasted, and Monty just doing a load of work here.
I never have to do math on stream, so I'm good that Trexno has done the math for me. He tosses out those toxic babes at exactly the right timestamps, but DJ's able to scamper his way on through the drop. He goes and down the plant as well. Cute Machine is able to pick up Octagon as Replay is trying to blindly spray through the Toxic Babe gas, but to no avail. Cute Machine finds their second as DJ is simply gonna dome Replay right into next Friday, leaves Matums in a 1v4 situation to keep the dream alive, walks and rounds the corner right into the open arms of Cute Machine, and just like that, IOM, they are able to close this out. 2 of 3 rounds were needed in overtime, and sure, Ubisoft, it was indeed a hard-fought victory, but naturally it had its hips and bumps for both squads. Regardless though, IOM, they really stepped up to the plate, strapped themselves in when it was necessary, and they were able to close it off. 2 rounds in quick succession on the attack and defense, and just like that, our first matchup of the evening is done and dusted.
Well, I mean, Toodles, could this be potentially that our champions have flown too close to the sun and this is their fall from grace? Could we potentially see Triton slowly fall down the leaderboard? 2 weeks in a row that they've lost, and I mean, IOM, that's 2 weeks in a row that they've won. Maybe they've learned their mistakes from last season, and obviously they've got 2 players sitting on the bench just now due to, I mean, circumstances that are out with their control. I mean, maybe this is a roster to potentially win the BO season.
I don't know. IOM, they're looking really strong with each and every single coming Playday. Naturally, they didn't necessarily get as easy of a victory this week. Team Trident, they certainly did give them a run for their money, but judging what we saw last week from Team Trident, well, I can certainly say that TT has definitely come a long way. They have improved greatly in a lot of different aspects. Some that I won't necessarily name on stream, but one thing that I can definitely say for sure is that their overall adaptability and their willingness to actually experiment with a lot of different strategies is something that I can definitely commend. Especially in our second half, for example, they wanted to take a page out of IOM's book. They wanted to try to give the Montaigne a try. It didn't work, so they pushed that aside and they did what they already knew. That is something that I think is really commendable and sensible for a lot of teams. I wish a lot of teams would sometimes just push their own strat book aside to see if they can try to replicate some kind of recipe of success. If it doesn't, hey, it's no harm, no foul. But regardless, on the side of Team Trident, they gave it their all and they were so close to winning. They were always fighting from being on the back foot. And sure, they were able to force us all the way to overtime, but they just needed a little bit of extra magic to pull it through. But I think that's all that we have to say for that particular matchup. Next up, we do have, if I'm not mistaken, our next matchup of the evening is going to be Wombats versus PW, Poggy Woggy, and that is a matchup that you don't want to miss out on either. So we're going to hop to just a short little break. Go ahead and get yourself a snack, a beverage, whatever it may be, and we will see you guys back here in just a couple of short minutes. Hello and welcome back to Buell season numero 3. We are currently in the midst of week number 2 and we have just concluded our first match, a replay of season 2 semifinals IOM versus Team Trident. In case we just missed out on that match, well, it was indeed IOM. They were able to clutch up big time in the last 2 rounds of overtime to take the dub, take it home 8-6. But now we're going to be shifting gears as we have got Poggy Woggy going up against Combat Wombats, PW versus CW. Once again, as always, I'm lighting up the mics here for this evening alongside the beautiful maestro himself, Cairo, who by the way has a sledgehammer, so technically he's a bit indecisive about which his favorite operator is. Oh. Turns out that Cairo may have pulled off an NA mic right there.
Yeah, I definitely did. But what I was saying is that I do love Sledge. He is the Scottish operator, but one thing that I want to talk about in this matchup, I mean, is how good these two teams are. I played with Call Me Dicta, and I think it's GMXC as you play, but I know him as James. I mean, these two players are really good, and they've got a really good kind of synergy as well. And on the opposite team, on Combat Wombat, one player that I was going to kind of call out was Hyde. I mean, I play with Hyde on a comp team. I mean, this man can really pop off sometimes.
Indeed, he can. Unfortunately, we do not have roster sheets available for you guys, so we will just quickly be going through them manually. On the side of CW, we have got Dicta, James, as you said, Vulcanoid, Bionk, and Kensho. On the opposing side, over by PW, Hyde, Mo, Mr. Joe, participating from the Newell as well, and the last player to round things off, we have got Closer. Now, it's still early days within Season 3, but thus far, PW have gotten off to an absolutely tremendous start by booking in the most decisive result we have seen thus far. Last week, they were able to win out their matchup on Villa. I can't remember exactly who they played against. I believe it was Team 9, and they were able to close that off 7-2. So they were able to propel themselves above every other single team within Bull for the time being. So they currently sat on pole position with a +5 round differential and 3 points to their name. On the opposing side, well, CW, they are not necessarily down in the dumps. They have lost their first opening matchup with a scoreline of 7-4 as well. So the opportunity for them to bounce back, it is certainly real given how close their past result was.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing we need to talk about is I mean, Poggy Woggy had such a great result, and I mean, the opposition that they were playing also were a good team. I mean, you look at the quality that was there. I believe that's Reich's team, and they have players like Aztec who won out that NSC final, I mean, last season to get that kind of spot on towards UCAN 2. So, yeah, I think we needed to kind of talk about that. I mean, how much of a convincing result it was against such a good team. But, I mean, Combat Wombat, they have quality in themselves. I can easily see them bouncing back from that result that they had last week.
Yeah, indeed they can. I'm currently just kind of scouring and scrounging through to see exactly which potential map we may visit this evening. Naturally, the 2 autobans that are going to be taking place. If Noah can quickly just bring up the map veto in case if it's ready. And there you go, it should be hopping up on screen momentarily. Villa and Oregon, once again, shall not be brought out this evening. So we're going to be shifting up things just a tad bit. I hope we don't revisit Clubhouse, but it may be apparent as Coastline and Consulate, they are the next 2 to be banned on out. We still have 2 C's left over, ladies and gents. Chalet, please let it be Chalet. Please let it be Chalet. It's Chalet! Yay!
Let's go. I mean, Chalet is just absolute chaos sometimes. You never know if it's going to be attacker or defender sided. This is going to be a good matchup here. I'm excited.
As am I. It has been a hot minute since I've casted Chalet myself. I may be rusty on it, but hey, aren't we all? It is the newly introduced map into the comp pool. I do really, really wish the theme park could have potentially stayed with us just for good old time's sake, but nah, maybe in the future it shall return. I don't know, but regardless, we shall be moving on swiftly to Chalet. This is if I'm not mistaken, uncharted territory. Yeah, this is uncharted territory for both of these two squads. This is going to be their debut matchup on the newly introduced matchup into the comp pool as well. So I'm really excited to see exactly how this particular matchup is going to transpire. I'm excited to see what kind of strategies they're going to bring on out. Naturally, we have seen a lot of really interesting things, specifically last season, as not necessarily, yeah, I think it was also last season. Yeah, it was definitely last season, because I remember Max, he actually set the kill record for season 2 on Chalet on the opening night as well. So we have already had quite a little bit of experience with it in the previous season as well, but now everything's back to a clean slate. We're going to see exactly how these two squads fare up.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Chalet's quite interesting in the fact that it's very breach heavy. If you think towards the kind of bottom floor site and top floor site, and I mean, compared to its old, like kind of before the pre-workout. Oh my god.
Pre-rework.
Yeah, pre-rework.
I know, you yourself are a man who loves to hit the gym, so I can understand why you take a bunch of pre-workout.
Yeah, so like pre-workout versus post-rework. If you kind of look at both maps, I mean, you look at that bottom floor site, it was so strong, and now it's completely opposite. I mean, nobody likes to go near it, so I'm very interested to see how these two teams kind of put their own spin on things, and see how they two kind of play against each other.
Yeah, that's true. Specifically on the subject of the bottom floor bomb site, it hasn't been successful at all since its introduction, which is really worrisome, as you stated. I know I've got a random notebook here. It's not the one that I actually use for taking my caster notes, but I remember the last time I casted Chalet specifically, I was marking down attacker victories on the bottom floor defense, just because it is that bad of a bomb site. And naturally, back in the day, you would typically breach the snowmobile garage and then basically just get to work planting behind the recycling bin, because of the fact that attacking Wine was just very difficult to do. Now it's the exact polar opposite. Wine is just that much more easy to actually attack. The one innovative thing that I've actually seen on the side of the defense is over by Red. I think it's actually Red, just outside of the Wine breach. It's on the exact same hallway that is shared with the trench doorway. We have seen a very innovative strategy in which the defense likes to play it as if it were Oregon basement elbow, where you open up a portion of that red wall, specifically the right-hand side, and you just plop a shield directly out of it. I've seen that particular strategy be brought out numerous times, but unfortunately enough, that particular position is just forfeited prematurely, and you can't really hold on to it just because, it's not a 90 corridor. It's just like a full-on 180 straight line corridor, so it's that much more difficult to hold on to. But naturally, we have so many other things to worry about, because there are 3 other bomb sites on Chalet which are just that much more powerful to visit. And with CW starting off on the defense, I'm pretty sure that they share the exact same mindset as I do. Thatcher is the first to go. Rest in pepperoni, Thatcher. I'm just waiting for the day that he makes it through the ban phase. He's just left on the bleachers for far too long.
Yeah, he is. I'm starting to get to the opinion now where, I mean, he's been in the game so long, surely you should know how to play against a Thatcher. Surely we have really competent bandit trickers that can do work against him, because, I mean, that's really his only direct counter when you think about it. And another interesting ban here, too, Doors, is the Flores. You talked about it on Clubhouse. I mean, we analysed the fact that he's really good at moving players and moving utility, getting rid of it, destroying it, making sure that it can't be used again. So, I mean, all in all, not a bad ban.
No, not at all. But this does, once again, mean that both Maverick and Hibana, surprise, surprise, they're going to be slipping their way through the operator ban phase. So they are both on the table for this evening. Fortunately enough, once again, as always, I'll have to kiss my favorite Spanish lady goodbye, Mira. I miss you. I did catch a bit of you earlier on Clubhouse as well, so that did definitely put a smile on my face, but I wish I could have seen her as well right here on Chalet. The last band to be brought out, I suspect, is a Kaid, but no, it's instead going to be a Valkyrie. And that is really sensible because of the fact that it is a new map. Yeah. It becomes really difficult to read into the absolute plethora of different locations that you could potentially throw those black eye cameras into, so I understand that is something PW simply don't want to deal with.
Not only that though, I mean, you can hide the K-claws in really weird positions in this map. I mean, I remember, I think if you hide it in a specific spot, you could actually put the K-claw above the snowmobile main breach that we see on bottom floor. But it looks as if Monty's going to be a regular occurrence, and here comes the caster curse once more. 2 doors. It looks as if he's been sixed off of by Mo.
You're not catching a break whatsoever.
No.
He might 6-pick off of the Monty. He might go from the Monty back to the Monty, but nah. Nomad is going to be secured on the side of Mo this time around, and it's a bit interesting. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be planning on using those particular air jabs. Potentially cut off rotations, use them aggressively. It's something that I don't see a lot actually transpire because, well, you know, Nomad is no longer as good as she once was. I'm specifically referring to pre-patch days back in Wind Bastion when those things would instantly detonate the moment that they made contact. It was a fun time to play the game, but still.
That was like playing dodgeball, but instead of actually using balls, you were using the bodies of your opposition with those air jabs. I mean, she really is the kind of flank princess. No one can really get by without creating some sort of indication as to where players are coming from. And have they reinforced in between sites? No, they've not. Sorry.
No, they have. They have. They haven't, but unfortunately enough, they made their rotation on the wrong side, so that means that they are susceptible to anyone that is standing on Fluke balcony.
Well, the thing is, though, let's look at it right. You're saying that it might be reinforced on the wrong side, but when you actually look at it, it's not, because that side is closest to the window, and if, I mean, you get onto that window, you can essentially cut off all rotations onto that side, whereas the angle's a lot thinner on the other side of the wall. So I don't think that's a bad reinforcement if you actually look at it, right? And I mean, we're getting things started off very quickly. Mr. Joe getting a great frag onto Kenshu, but refragged fairly quickly. Well done from Combat Wombats.
Yeah, but unfortunately enough for them, they lost out on a smoke, a very pivotal anchor that they would have actually liked to maintain throughout the entire duration of this round. But unfortunately enough, we'll have to kiss that particular SAS operator goodbye relatively early on. PW for the time being. Also quite commanding. The only thing that they have actually lost on is 2 frag grenades that unfortunately were flushed down the drain alongside Mr. Joe, and the High has already expended both of his. So overall gadget lethality on the side of PW has basically just plummeted into the ground and has actually gone under it as well. It is still a 4v4 situation as PW. They were keen on taking control of Seoul, but they have actually since fallen off. And James right there is able to spot just the single pixel necessary to tap on Vaps's head. And just like that, man advantage has now been secured on the side of CW, but it may soon be stripped away from them as Beyonk. He has been left in the DBNO status, once again rotates into Seoul back to safety away from the Hide, so an effective 3v3 situation is what we have to chew on.
The Hide, it sounds like some sort of villain, but it seems to be a bit of a rally here, and the kill feed Bioink still in that DBNO state, but can anybody actually pick him up? Vulcanoid stuck in the corner as we see. Closer is still playing on the windows. Hide as well, firing bullets. I think we actually will see the kill here, but there is still one player on that window. It is Call Me Dictator. A great shot in from Library Corridor. Closer getting shut down, and now it's all down to Mo. A 3 versus 1 situation almost, but I think Bioink may actually get picked up here. 40 seconds remaining, and look at this, it's like sharks circling their prey. Can they pick up Mo? Close out this round, make sure they get 1 on the board. Bringing out flash grenades, maybe trying to flash any players that are away, and there goes Call Me Dictator. She's down in the dirt. There goes your Mozzie. Mo trying to see if he can pick anybody else up, but no, James getting a triple on the round. A great play from him, all in. The Cade popping off.
Indeed, a triple kill to close off the round. Basically, we have gone full circle. He picked up the first one, and he also collects the last one. James, on an anchor of all things, not necessarily the most influential operator, but in the right hands, Kite can certainly fulfill that role. And he's going to be shifting gears to the most Benelux operator that exists, namely Frost, even though she's from, if I'm not mistaken, not French Canada, but an Asian descent of Canada. I'll have to once again read up on my lore because I'm quite rusty, unfortunately. But regardless, this has been an extraordinary start for the Combat Wombats, and now we're going to be moving on to bar and gaming. I remember seeing this particular bomb site in NAL a whole bunch, and it hasn't necessarily been all too defensive favored from what recent memory can serve me, but I'm pretty sure that CW they can certainly make it work.
Yeah, definitely. We'll need to see if they can make it work. But the thing is, though, see on this site, it really demands a lot from the defenders in terms of extensions into areas that, I mean, you could really get picked off from, whether it be on top of Ivy Stairs or again in that main square up above in Fireplace. So easily, I mean, it could be a really precarious situation that you find yourself in. And also, Two Doors, on top of that, they're bringing an alibi, somebody that we don't, an operator that we don't necessarily see too often. I mean, you could easily get taken off guard. It's almost like the kind of, how would you put it, the novelty with Frost, where, I mean, the kind of like, what is it? It's like a U in terms of how many people actually get caught off guard by it.
Huh? I got a massive question mark over my head right now because Kensho just shot out one of those holograms.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, maybe it was because he didn't want to get caught off guard with it popping up and down. But it looks as if Kensho actually had a skin anyway, so... Oh well. It looks like they're going to even out the man count, though. It's a bit of a spawn peak onto Vabs.
Oh no. Oh no. I'm not exactly sure where that C4 came down from, but that is a bit of a yikes to say the very least. Regardless, though, we are going to be, well, air quotes, kicking this round off on an even playing field as it is a 4v4 scenario. Tit for tat, trade for trade, and neither team for the time being maintains the man advantage. PW, though, they've got their eyes peeled over towards Trophy, potentially looking to clear out the far northern portion of the map, and then working their way directly in. But sooner rather than later, they're going to actually come across the roam presence that is actually being heavily exhibited on the top floor. Combat Wombats, they are going to hold onto that portion of the map with an iron fist. And it's going to be difficult for BW to actually dislodge that. They have to potentially breach open the office wall and then deal with Call Me Dicta and then deal with Vulcanoid or James or whoever is inside a library. There are just so many different hurdles that PW have got to jump over, and they've only got 80 seconds to do it in.
Yeah, they picked up an extra drone there. We look towards the drone economy, and it's actually looking pretty good for PW. They need to try and displace this player on top of Ivy Stairs, but they hear the frag grenade getting pulled. Will it actually be able to land? Because there is still an ADS in that area. It's going to get eaten up, but the second one surely coming fairly promptly. No, was that maybe a misplaced? Was that maybe a miss? I'm sorry, I was
there were two
confused
ADSs.
Here. Yeah, no, I just heard a frag grenade go off, and I thought Mr. Joe maybe fragged himself out, but I'm not too sure.
Don't know, but I guess we'll have to shake up the match replay for that one. For the time being, though, Call Me Dicta's trading arounds left, right, and center is now forced to scamper down Ivis. I believe that position has now actually been taken up the reins, now sit with PW, or so I thought. They had yet to clear out the library side as Bionk strikes. Mo is going to clap back by taking down Vulcanoid, and now Closer is going to come in for the kill. Call Me Dicta is now going to hit the dirt, and that leaves CW in a 2v3 scenario. They have to turn their attention towards the hatches, exactly what James does as we hit mission critical. It's a 2v2 scenario with PW now needing to drop the hatches and somehow descend into the bomb site. The diffuser, it's currently firmly sat with them, but trades come left, right, and center. 1 second left, and Closer is able to stick the plant, but sooner he's going to be domed. Bionk knows exactly what's happening. The jig is soon up. Yeah, we caught that on camera. It wasn't the one tap that you thought it would be. Oh, quite embarrassing, but hey.
Oh no. Oh, well, we'll not talk about that, but what we can talk about is Combat Wombats putting up some resistance, even though they were a man down. I mean, they lost Kensho at the beginning and just started to pop off here, there, and everywhere. I mean, Toodles in the grand scheme of things, PW should have really won that round, and I mean, convincingly.
They should have, but you know what the main issue was? It was the bomb site. Baron Gaming. And I can say with full certainty that CW, they were indeed gaming.
My god. Oh my god. Right, I'm looking for a new co-commentator. If you want to put your CVs in the chat, we'll try and pick you up for the next map.
For the next map, for the next round, I need to get the hell out of here.
Right, anyway, we head now to not bar and gaming, that's just what we've been to, is dining room and kitchen. So, now, Two Doors, it's almost like we saw last time with this large extension into top floor. Like, with the fact that you've got to kind of, I mean, essentially what you're doing here is, it's like, remember that first site Master. You're essentially defending that again. It's almost like a defending Master Simulator, but this time you have to drop back down for that last kind of minute 30 to minute push.
Big Big moment.
But, well, I mean, we'll need to see what happens here. We see all the utility is being committed upstairs. Kudos, especially with that shield. I mean, that'll be really good with the kind of head height holes that are being put in by the smoke of Kenshu. Another thing is we need to talk about is how they're going to create this delay game. How are they going to like make sure to capitalize on potential mistakes from PW? Because I mean, that's where all it's been so far.
True, that actually has been the sort of primary dynamic that has been shown thus far. PW, they set their first foot forward, but then unfortunately they kind of just trip very awkwardly, and then they find themselves in a position where they're doing split, and that technically leaves their jewels right for the taking.
Yeah.
Which is a bit rough. And CW, they're usually more than happy to quickly receive that particular play. As you said, CW, they have done a very adamant job of punishing each and every single mistake that PW exhibit, and in also a relatively quick fashion as well. But this is a precarious position that Kensho finds himself in. He has an absolute mess load of angles to worry about, and so many different attackers just creeping their way on in.
No.
But Mo is the first to fall, not aware of Kensho's position on the other side of that barricade. They will fall, and soon Vaps is going to join suit as well. Kensho, he's a one-man army, and he's not stopping anytime soon until now. Unfortunately enough, the caster curse has indeed struck, but this time it's working in PW's favor. They have been able to claim control of the top floor to a certain extent, but guess what? They still have so much more to deal with over by Master itself. It's still properly reinforced. In PW, they have yet to actually lockpick this defense, specifically Dicta, causing chaos, although remaining quite idly in the closet, can definitely be a cause for concern on the side of PW.
Well, they're starting to gain some control. There was a bit of a firing line set up by Combat Wombats, but PW will definitely need to find the positions of the retreated players. Looks like they've cleared out Master as we see the Ayana drone doing its work, but there's still angles from below. You talked about being in a precarious situation. It looks as if it's sharks below. They're walking above this shark tank. The Aruna gate is on the hatch to kind of signal if anybody drops. Make sure that they're going to take a bit of damage if they do. And now Mr. Joe getting dropped as well. It just gets worse and worse for these players. And look at this. The bodies hit the floor. The kill feed goes blue. And Combat Wombats just don't seem to be stopped.
No, not at all. PW, they're struggling, and despite the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of overall SeaWorld analogies, that one pretty much struck the right chord. CW, they are resonating relatively well right now. They are harmonious. They are playing as an absolute unit. Or at the very least, I think it's safe to call Kensho that, because he was the shining star of last round, holding on to the top floor, specifically office itself. He basically had a good 2 square feet to move around in that was shared between the barricade over by the master window as well as the shield that was directly in front of it. He could not have been more uncomfortable, and yet he was able to take 2 players alongside himself to the grave. Effectively, just like that, the entire round result was set in stone, and there was little to nothing that CW could have done to sort of regain that lost territory, let alone the man count as well. But aside from that, a successful site rotation on the side of CW, something that we don't see a whole lot of given Chalet's overall nature being a very attacker-sided map. This is quite the rarity, and you know what? I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like to see these kind of like pocket strats, these rare things coming out. And that's quite interesting, actually, is the fact that Kensho's placed that shield backwards. If a lot of people don't know, but you can actually gain better angles through placing that shield backwards. It actually creates a kind of better, how'd you put it, percentage of winning, as we see. Look where Kensho's actually playing that just now. But anyway, the way I want to see Polywog is potentially attack this is actually through Solarium. You can create a lot of good angles and create a lot of pressure onto the players on site, especially using that big window repel to almost cut the site in half. It looks as if that's not going to be the case. It looks as if it's going to be Vabs entering in through Library Corridor. They're going to lose a drone to Mozzie Pest, and that will surely give away where the push is coming from. But Call Me Dicta with a great C4 pre-placed onto the hatch in that closet area. Well played from her.
If I'm not mistaken, that is the second time thus far that Vabs was the opening frag on the side of PW. And for the second time as well, at the hands of a C4. He is having a rough evening. Sure, he's been able to... Oh, I thought those were assists for a second. I'm just starting to actually realize that those are 4 deaths. Ouch. But on a more positive note thus far, Call Me Dicta has been an absolute machine once again, finding C4 kills left, right, and center. But now you're going to have to resort to using the good old-fashioned pepperoni, my favorite gun in the game, unironically, as PW... They have roughly 90 seconds left to work with, and this begs the question, what you gonna do? Are you gonna go hunting for the roamer, none other than Call Me Dicta themselves, down below, or are you gonna start committing towards the bomb site?
Oh, no.
James decapitates Mo, and just like that, a frag grenade goes off, sends Closer straight into next Friday. That is not the person you would have wanted to target, but now you gotta salvage the round. The Hive is able to shut down James, leaving us in a 4v2 scenario. They don't have the main breach open. PW, everything is working against them in this here round, and with 60 seconds left, it's gonna take a miracle for them to pick up their first.
Yeah, well, I mean, a miracle is what's needed. They need some sort of, I mean, I don't know, God's work at least, and look at that. Combat Wombot's just absolutely collapsed on the last 2 players. It looks as if it's just all coming up stonks for these players on Combat Wombats. They don't seem to be putting a foot wrong. Head to back to kind of barring gaming. As you said, they were gaming before, but will they continue to keep gaming? Or are they going to end up drunk on their own fortunes? We'll need to see. I mean, Poggy Woggy, they just keep making simple mistakes, and I don't know what. I don't know how you kind of reset. They need to find 2 rounds at least, gain some breathing room on Chalet. But with the way Combat Wombats are playing, it's just been sheer dominance so far.
No, there's very little to actually no wiggle room whatsoever on the side of PDW. I wanted to say PDW because for some reason I was just thinking about playing Black Ops 2, and that was one of my favorite SMGs to use in the game. But Hoggy Woggies, they are having a very, very rough time on the offense, arguably known to be the most favored side on Chalet as well. So, yeah, I'm still thinking to myself, like, what the actual heck is going on here? Heck with 2 C's because it's appropriate. PW, they should be in the driver's seat. They should have potentially been the ones now sat on a 3-2 score line if we were to follow past history of how Chalet has played out in the 4 to 5 months that it has been out, especially in the comp pool itself. It is just a very strange position, and sure, you can say that they don't need to TK each other. That is obviously a first. That is one mistake that they did last time around, but hey, it's a frag grenade. It's an accident. I think, personally, the first thing that they should do is technically identify which players cause the biggest headaches. In my mind, Dicta is the one that does that. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and put an enormous bullseye on their back and hunt down Dicta as soon as humanly possible, because Dicta has been there to get opening frags. They have been there to basically stir the cauldron and cause so much chaos on the side of PW to the point that a round is unsalvageable. In my mind, you need to handpick which players you need to deal with and deal with them.
Well, this is it. They're not dealing with them, potentially. It's the drone work that is actually faulting them, but I mean, they are doing some drone work, as we see one going through piano room, trying to clear out these positions, maybe some off spots. But I mean, this is the thing though, it's not off spots that are catching off guard, it's just winning gunfights. We've not seen, I mean, very little gunfights have we seen being won on Poggy Woggy. So we'll need to see if they can adapt and actually work on this. As we see similar setup to before, looks as if they're actually going to make an entry from Master into, oh sorry, I say Master, it's Office into top square. The Ayana drone pushing down, a couple of Jackal tracks coming, and all the bullets being headed into that intel, but nobody netting any sort of kind of stonks, as I've talked about before. They need to try and burn this utility. The frag grenade's coming out. Can Hyde get rid of this shield? And finally it rolls down and gets rid of it. That player on top of Ivy maybe getting caught off guard, and there goes Kenshu.
That's a bit unfortunate. Kensho, naturally, because of the fact that we have the PL HUD systems, you can't exactly tell how far away a frag grenade is, but if he took 1 or 2 steps up the staircase, he would have been safe away and out of that blast radius, but there was no way that Kensho could have known that. Vabs elsewhere is going to be set in the DBNO status, and not yet cleaned up, so he can definitely be recovered back to 20 HP and still have some kind of impact in the last 55 seconds of play right here. PW, this is the best that they have looked throughout all of Chalet thus far, and it needs to continue. They need to be able to continue the stompage, because that's what we want to see. We want this to be a close affair, but it might not get the chance to be. Call me Dick, the dome's closer as he went in for the revive, and it finally indeed does come through. It's an even playing field, but CW, well, they maintain the health advantage for the time being. And with 30 seconds left, the hatch, it needs to be blown wide open. PW, it's going to require a Hail Mary strategy for them to get themselves that defuse down. And James from atop the sofa is able to shut down Vabs once again. 15 seconds to go. Mr. Joe, what are you going to do? He shuts down James as well. And now, with just under 5 seconds left, PW, they need to get themselves physically on the bomb site, but it's not going to happen. Mr. Joe now, the last player left standing, can't even get a chance to hold F. So Twitch chat, I want you guys to unironically press F in chat, because PW, they have lost 5 consecutive rounds.
With a potential 6 coming up, it looked good. It looks as if it was all coming up PW, but the thing is, though, Two Doors, they just failed at the last mark. They just get caught off guard by that time. The 6th man that is in favour of the defenders every single time until the diffuser goes down. And surely now, Woggy, their mental will be in the dirt. 5 rounds in a row without an answer, and I mean, the most convincing round being the 5th round. And to end like that, sure, I don't even know. See, the thing is, though, they're doing like the right things. They're droning out the roamers, or trying to drone out the roamers. They're starting to like do the utility work, and then they get caught off guard doing something stupid like jumping in through a window and not checking main. I mean, potentially, right, maybe it's the initial drone work that's okay, that's good, but it's the extensive drone work that is not being done. For instance, making sure that you've got flank drones in areas where you can just check it before you jump in.
It's really, really tough for me to lay my finger on exactly what is going wrong on the side of PW. In the very, very sort of early couple of rounds that we witnessed, everything was going wrong in the early portions of the round. In that last round, number 5 that we just witnessed, PW did everything right in the early round. They avoided spawn kills. They were able to shut down... Oh, that... Did JMC... Wait, was there something on that reinforced wall? Did he accidentally burn it? Wait, what?
No, but that can't happen anymore, remember?
Oh, that can't happen anymore? When did that happen?
It got brought through in the new update, and for this season, you can't actually destroy your friendly devices.
Wow. It took almost 6 years for Ubisoft to make that change. Wow. See, I've been away from the game for far too long. I would have not known that that was a new change.
Yeah, I mean...
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dope, because when you think about it, I mean, the utility is going to be placed there anyway, just a bit further away from the wall.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, Two Doors, there's still plenty of changes to be made to this game, and plenty of changes to be made to the man count, as we see Vabs get the first initial frag instead of being the one at the end of a barrel. So maybe this could actually see Poggy Woggy turn up and maybe get this round, make a bit of breathing room heading into the next split.
One really important thing about that frag is the fact that it was onto Call Me Dicta as well. The player who has been lighting up the kill feed time and time again in the last 5 rounds is the first to fall on the side of CW. For the first time since last round, and technically for the first time in the entire matchup this evening on Chalet, PW now stand a real fighting chance as Vabs is able to collect his 2nd kill as well onto Kensho, outright dealing with the smoke. A player who caused so many headaches the last time that CW visited Kitchen and Dining. This is nothing but the right things are happening for PW right now. They are winning each and every single gunfight that they challenge. This is certainly going to end in their favor. I would have rather them picked up their first round win a lot earlier, but it's better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. Better late than never. And with a minute left on the clock, are they actually going to be able to get this plant down? Vulcanoid, the only person holding down the site. Can she actually be able to win out the round for Combat Wombats? Are we going to see more potential mistakes? We see James, I mean, he's been popping off himself. He's looking in towards the bar gaming area, and with plenty of players still upstairs. Vab's finding James, and now it's down to Vulcanoid. She goes for a retake upstairs, heading up into Solarium. A flawless round for Poggy Woggy, and what a round to do it in. The final and last one of the split. So now as they head onto the defense, potentially this could just be a defender-sided Chalet.
It really, really could. It really, really could. And that is obviously just given the past history of the last 6 rounds that we have witnessed, but I don't really see it transpiring that way whatsoever. PW, they may have just gotten lucky in that last round, but saying that they just got lucky would be really, really ignorant of me. They worked for that particular win, and Vab stepped up to the plate when it was just absolutely necessary, and he really, really pulled through. PW, they needed that round, but now being on what I keep on touting to be the less favored side, being the defense, they certainly have their work cut out for them, and being able to, well, essentially put yourself in a position where you can guarantee yourself a single point out of tonight's matchup in order to actually maintain your position on pole, leading the charge in Bool Season 3, you need to win 5 more rounds in a row. And you would have to effectively send CW to the grave each and every single time and time again, each and every single round. It would be really, really rough. It would be a tall task for PW to accomplish, but it's not out of the realms of possibility.
Thing is, though, Two Doors, is with this matchup, I mean, it's a tall mountain to climb, and I feel as if Combat Wombats have been scrimming this pretty hard because they seem to know what to do at every single turn with their rotations and how they play as a team. I mean, with that, I mean, something to kind of point out, maybe the differences between the two teams and how much they've been practicing, is that that rotate can easily be manipulated by Combat Wombats, but at the end of the day, we need to see how they manipulate the full round, what the macro plan is from them, where they're going to try and get this plant down. As we see Kenshu maybe potentially going for a bit of solo play, but no, actually it is a solo play going up West Main. The Iana is droning out Trophy. Luckily enough for him, there is nobody downstairs in this basement area as he continues potentially to start a tirade.
At the very least, Kensho, with those 2 breaching rounds in his back pocket, they can exert some vertical pressure and start to make PW feel that much more uncomfortable. Vaps is the first to fall, the kill not yet confirmed as Kensho deals with that deployable camera. There is one player close by inside of Seoul that they need to deal with, but I believe they have soon scampered out as well. Back into bathroom they go, that is Vaps. And he can be recovered as there is no pressure on the bathroom window for the time being. But it needs to happen quickly. He's nearly bled out entirely. And I'm really, really surprised at the fact that CW were able to claim control of... Oh my goodness, the kill feed is nothing but a sea of blue, as I believe James picked up a collateral. Call Me Dick that chimes in with one of their own. The Hyde claps back. Kensho is able to deal with Mo and the Hyde. He'll finally strike back as well, but it's a tall tale. And just like that, Kensho is able to clear out the last frag. Utter dominance on the side of CW nets them their 6th round, so off to match point they go. One more and they will be able to, well, get themselves back in the prime position, close to the top 4 if I'm not mistaken as well.
Yeah, I mean, easily, especially with such a dominant display. I'm sorry to say this, Poggy Woggy, but I mean, you're looking like a shadow of your former self from last week. They're bringing out an alibi for Bar Gaming. I don't know if they're trying to copy Combat Wombats, but again, I want to emphasise this point. Combat Wombats look well drilled on Chalet, and let's be honest, if you're well drilled in Chalet, I mean, that could easily start to continue on towards other maps, start a bit of momentum in this season.
Naturally, for every single other team, other than PW, specifically Veggie Patch, who by the way are playing later this evening as well, they have a chance to regain or technically gain first position. in
Yeah.
Bull Season 3. If they're able to, at the very least, gather a single point, that's really all they need as well. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Well, I mean, I think, is IOM not on 6 now?
Let's actually double check. Yeah, I think, no, they're currently on 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Alright, okay.
They're
Well,
on 5th, yeah.
no bother. Well, anyway, as we start to continue on towards Bar Gaming 2 doors, something that we'll potentially need to see again is this drop off the roam, the extension from Poggy Woggy. There's a lot of kind of micro decisions that need to be made for the macro plan, and the macro plan just seems to be falling apart slowly as we see Vabs again being this initial flag.
It's really, really heartbreaking, and he was on the vigil as well. Well, technically, you've just out-pizzaed the hut by dealing with one of the roamers in record time. I think that was within 35 seconds as well, and just like that, you already have one less headache to worry about. Sure, there's still a couple of hurdles that you need to deal with, but they have so much time on their side. Mr. Joe, he's got 2 ADSs to work with, and then a couple of my pancakes tossed out in each and every single corner directly above his melon. So it's gonna take a while for CW to burn all of this utility before they can toss out a frag grenade, but I think that is far too much of a commitment. They might just try and actually deal with him head on, because you have to throw out like what, 4 different throwables, and they're already trying to do that, but they've already lost out on Kensho. That AUG is being put to good work as the shield has finally been dealt with, and he scampers down to Ivy itself. So top floor control now almost narrowly in the firm grasp of CW, but as I say that, the hide is able to prevent Call Me Dicta from aggressing on towards the fireplace. So PW, they sit with the man advantage. It's a 4v3 scenario. They've been able to keep the attackers at bay for a long, long time. They need to do it for just a tad bit longer.
Yeah, well, for combat wombats, they need to try and find the picks, and the one on to hide will definitely open up that fireplace area. But remember, we still do have closer, Mr. Joe and Mo. We've still got 3 smoke canisters, and I mean, the Wamai, he's still generating his discs, so the throwables, I mean, they could be pretty, I mean, few and far between if they actually get any worth out of them at all. There's still 2 impacts as well, so plenty of denial. They need to deny these doorways, need to deny any sort of plant that could be going down. 3 versus 3 as the time slowly ticks away. They're going to open up this hatch and get ready for the post-plant scenario, doing a bit of vertical hold, but James, he needs to drop soon. 30 seconds is hit, and now the Ayana, she's droning out the sight. I mean, Poggy Woggy here, they can just really sit pretty and wait for this kind of initial entry that, I mean, let's be honest, will be coming soon. But, I mean, 2 smoke canisters in pocket, that's huge. Byonk's going to get the kill onto Mo, and James trying to get his entry into sight. Closer's getting 1 back. And now we finally see them enter in, but shut down fairly early. Closer's starting to pop off a little bit, and there we go. The second round for Poggy Woggy.
Could this be the start of a PW comeback? I genuinely don't know. According to Twitch chat, 41% of you put your virtual currency known as put channel points onto PW. So if you really want them to win the next 4 rounds, then go ahead and give them some of your energy in Twitch chat and show your support, because they're certainly going to need it. This could potentially be the start of something great from this, but from this moment onwards, they have got to play a flawless match of Rainbow Six. It is a very, very tricky task to accomplish, specifically on the defense as well. And because of the fact that they lost out on second floor Master really, really easily last time around, I fear that we'll only see 9 rounds of Chalet this evening, because CW, they were so relentless, so ruthless on this bomb site. It may be all but over in this next round.
Yeah, definitely, it is worrying. One thing I was going to ask you two, Doors, is a bit off topic, but if you were to call Beal's channel points anything, what would you call them? Beal points?
No, not bull points. It needs to be something badass, but badass points sounds very, very generic. It has to be something, badass tokens just doesn't, that doesn't have a ring to it. That just feels disgusting to say. What could we call? Twitch
I've got it.
Have you got it?
Yeah, I think I've got it. What about badass biscuits?
Yes! Yes!
Because, I mean, let's be honest, biscuits are badass.
They are. They really, really are.
But,
Especially like my favorite biscuits, or at the very least like the ones that I have far too many stocked up in my own house. They're like the digestive biscuits with chocolate smeared on the top.
Yeah, I mean Biscoff's probably my favorite, to be honest.
There you have it, badass biscuits.
Oh, well, maybe we can get some badass biscuits, potentially at the Latin finals, but we'll need to find out. Anyway, we'll talk about Playday 2 that we see happening here. Sorry, Playday 3, Week 2 that's happening in front of our eyes. Plenty of pings coming out from Combat Wombats. I mean, I'm going to be honest, the information that they've kind of gained and really done has been nothing short of pretty good. So, with them going again towards this Solarium side take, they're going for the same things they did last time. They're kind of doing the soft destruction towards common spots, trying to displace any defenders, but look, there's no defenders to be seen, just information to be gained, and I mean map control to be gained. They're trying to see if they can get any picks, but most of Poggy Woggy are defending towards the library side, so Toodles, I mean, all they're doing is just clearing out the map.
Yeah, indeed they are. Mo is closely tucked inside a closet with a rotation, I believe, so he could potentially contest this particular push in towards the bathroom if it's absolutely necessary, or I think that might just be entirely reinforced. I can't exactly tell from this point, but regardless. Vaps is able to kick things off on the side of PW by absolutely demolishing Volcanoids, so that's already 2 frag grenades now wiped clean off the face of the earth, but luckily enough for CW, they still have 2 in the back pocket of Bjork. And we also do have 2 players in close proximity by the bathtub. Clearly they are farming T3 subs on Twitch, if you didn't already see it, guys. And Vaps is able to pick up a second. James perfectly reads that particular spot by Vaps, and he's able to also dome him, putting us in a 4v3 scenario as Closer is wiggling and waggling his way through the wind, and he nearly manages to take out James as the hide is left in the DBNO status. Bjork is able to pick up one for his troubles, and that technically ties things up. We are now in an effective 2v2 scenario as the hide may not be recoverable in this scenario. Call Me Dicta breaches directly into office, so that is an available avenue, but first they have to force their way in through Closer as Bjork is able to clean up the hide, and no, poor timing on the side of Call Me Dicta as they are caught mid-reload, and just like that, PW, they're able to collect 2 kills to close off round number 9. I thought it may have been the last round of the evening between these 2 squads, but PW, they have so much fight left in them, and they certainly won't go down without one.
Thing is though, is Poggy Woggy have almost half the lead of Combat Wombats. And that's starting to get worrying. It seems as if Poggy Woggy may actually have answers, and now we see the dreaded sight come out here. Toodles, it is Wine Cellar and Snowmobile. If we go back to our statistics, as casters like to do, this is very, very attacker-sided. And I can tell you something, Toodles, Combat Wombats, they'll be well drilled going to attack this site.
Yeah, surely. I really don't want to call it all too early, but I fear that PW may have just shot themselves in the foot by visiting this particular bomb site. They could have gone to, well, Kitchen because it was the only other available bomb site. It would have still taken an extra round for gaming to be unlocked, but I don't know if this was the right call for PW. Their comeback may soon come to a premature end unless they have something really spicy to show us right here. And given this bomb site's overall architecture, I fear that there isn't a lot that they can do differently with it. This may be an easy win for CW to, well, propel themselves closer to that top 4 position, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see exactly what PW have in stock to show us this time. Yeah,
definitely. The thing is, though, is Combat Wombats tend to go against the kind of norms. Usually we see the library side take, but they went for Solarium when attacking top floor. So, I mean, as we see already, they're going for Wine Cellar, it looks like, and the thing is, though, is Poggy Woggy actually got the utility set up to do that. I believe there was a Goyle shield facing towards that elbow kind of hold. But how will Combat Wombats actually combat what's in front of them?
I hate you. Good try though, you know what? A for effort, but I'll give you a C- in execution. It wasn't that bad, but still.
Come on, you literally said that was the gaming site, but these players are gaming. Come on, that
Yeah,
can't be as
and
bad
they
as that.
still are. They literally have their hands on mice and keyboard and are playing video games. Need I say more? No, I don't. But regardless, though, let's see exactly how CW are going to, well, technically set this execution in motion. They have plenty of different things to combat, that elbow position not being one of them. They've already suffered a casualty, call me Dicta, but not down in the dirt. They still remain tagged, but not yet fragged, so impact can still be made. And the same thing goes for Newell, or why did I say Newell? I mean Vabs. Clearly I meant Vabs, ladies and gents. He's on 20, 30-ish HP, and he can still hold on to whatever position of the map he's holding on. Frag grenade tossed on in, but Mr. Joe is going to quickly just dive past that as an ADS is his main saver, and Bianca is getting to work on that hatch for the time being. It will be opened on up, so now... Well, CW, they have an extra avenue to work with as Mr. Joe is taking a boatload of damage. He's forced to vacate that position, meaning that CW, well, their stronghold is becoming ever more apparent with each and every single angle that they open on up.
Yeah, but Vabs, he's becoming apparent in this round. He's taken out Kenshu, and I mean, that was your Sophia. I don't know if the utility was actually expended from that operator, and if so, I mean, good for them, but if not, I mean, that's a large amount of utility to lose. Vabs still holding down Bar Gaming and main stairs with that long angle, and the hide, he's going to hold down the site, taking out James. There goes your Thermite, there goes your hard breach, but call me Dicta, answering back, taking out Mr. Joe. That's a Goyo, that's a C4, and look at this. It looks as if Poggy Woggy are actually starting to answer back, create this comeback, and if they win this round, they're only 2 rounds away.
Naturally, they have to get this one done and dusted with right here. Volcanoid and Bjork. What do y'all have to show us? It's going to be a really, really tricky task for them to try to accomplish, and with 15 seconds left on the clock, Mo can easily toss out that last toxic babe and effectively cut off any and all entry into this particular bomb site. Mo, randomly spraying on through, is able to pick up Bianca, and with 2 seconds left, we can pretty much write off this particular round. That is a bit of BM, but hey, celebratory BM is what we love to see. PW, as you said, 2 more rounds left to go before they force us all the way to overtime. By the time that the second half had started and CW picked up their first round, I thought we were in for a very, very quick match of Chalet, but that is quite clearly not turning out to be the case whatsoever. PW, they have got so much fight left into them. I believe that we do have a retos coming on through, so we will have to quickly take a very short hiatus before we return to game, but we're 10 rounds in, Cairo. Let's discuss. What has been speaking out the most to you on the side of PW? Why do you think they have been able to mount up an actual comeback of this caliber?
I just think that Chalet is slowly becoming defender-sided as both, well, I say both teams, but the whole Rainbow Six community is actually starting to suss out what's the best strategy, what's the best way to actually defend things, and let's be honest, I mean, both teams are putting up a valiant effort, but at any moment in time, we could see Combat Wombats taking it, and maybe that pressure is what's, I mean, working well for Poggy Woggy, is actually what's letting them kind of, how would you put it, thrive, maybe in this pressure. 2 rounds to go, and I mean, they have to be flawless to get to overtime, but I'd imagine this little pause will kind of reset the, not, I wouldn't say reset, but definitely slow down the pacing of the game.
That is something that we actually have been seeing. A lot of the rounds that have just been transpiring, they're not as rapid. Yeah. There's a build-up to everything. There's always a calm before the storm. That is something that I've actually been loving to see on the side of CW's attacks thus far. They take their time, but unfortunately enough, as you said, PW, they are the ones that thrive in the chaos when they're words. I might not know how to English very well, but when PW's backs are against the wall, that is when they can make magic happen. At least that is what the last 3 rounds, I should say, have actually shown us thus far. They just need to do it twice over. 2 more times, and for the second time thus far, they're going to be revisiting Barn Gaming, I should say. Last time around, we saw how greatly CW actually struggled with to simply dislodge Mr. Joe from the top of Ivy Stairs. He had an absolute ridiculous amount of ADSs and my pancakes aiding him in that instance. And we saw that CW, they were not one to snuff at all of the utility that they had to dump to, well, dislodge him from that position. So it's likely they will have to do the exact same thing, as the clear over by Seoul and the northern portion of the map has already begun. There's nothing here to meet them just yet. Everyone on the side of PW is playing this rather conservatively, just waiting for the hit to come in, and then collecting kills when it's appropriate.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, they've got plenty to do in terms of what there is going to be a Jacko ping as to where I believe that was where Vabs was positioned. We still have Mr. Joel holding down the fort on top of Ivy Stairs. We see we've got all the ADSs and Wamai discs in tow. Vabs is getting pressured from Fluke Balcony, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Combat Wombats are just doing what they need to do. It's going to be a slow round because they've got so much to burn through. So, 2 doors with how this is going to set up. I mean, potentially, right? Let's look at it this way. Someone could actually sneak up blue here if they're caught off guard.
It could really happen. It would certainly catch Mr. Joe off guard, but I doubt it's actually going to happen, as all 5 players on the side of CW, they are heavily stacked over by Office as well as the piano window. They are just waiting for the opportune moment to strike, as I believe that is Call Me Dicta now rotating on over to toss in those smoke grenades, burning out the utility, most importantly those ADSs, but it won't work, at least not temporarily, as Vulcanoid is the first to fall. I believe those 2 frag grenades hadn't already been exhausted, so it's a bit of a yikes on the side of CW. And now, well, you've only got less than 60 seconds left to work with, and Kensho is able to catch, or the Hyde is able to catch off Kensho mid-rotate, and with 50 seconds left, well, CW, they've already made the call. They have to put their attention elsewhere. It's going to take a Hail Mary strategy for them to close off the matchup right here and right now, as taking control of the top floor is no longer a tangible option whatsoever. JMC, he is not wasting a single precious moment of his time whatsoever. Hungry for frags as his jowls are salivating. And he finds... No, he doesn't find the first. Mr. Joe gets the jump on him. Instead, Bianc and Call Me Dicta, it's all down to these 2 in a 2v5, now converted into a 1v4 as Vaps is able to trade it back on out. Diffuser has been dropped, and Bianc, he is effectively being halted by that toxic babe gas at the bottom of Ivy Stairs. Diffuser not even in his grasp, so it's safe to say that PW, despite the fact that they had been hanging on by a thread, this is looking ever more poggy-woggy from them with each passing round. All it takes is one more round, and this particular matchup will be screaming overtime.
Well, kudos, we now come down to the 1-round shootout. Is it going to be overtime, or is it going to be a map win for Combat Wombats? They've not really shown us any good signs on attack. Maybe that first one onto top floor, but you have to repeat it in this one. They'll need to repeat the strengths of what they've showed. They went for a bit of a split push last time with Dicta going for a late flank, but was caught off guard, and I mean, it was down to a 2 versus 2 before Poggy Woggy pulled ahead. They're bringing a Kali this time to aid in the breaching of this site, because let's be honest, if you want to get the plant down, you need to do a lot of breaching, whether that does do be on the Office side or if it be on the Master side. You need to gain a lot of control, create a lot of crossfires, and I mean, let's be honest, the most important
Who did they drop out for the Kali? Because I actually didn't catch the 6 pick.
I'm not too sure. Was it a Maverick, I believe?
It may have been a Maverick. My thought process is there's absolutely no kind of breach denial that they actually have to worry about. I'm pretty sure that they are bringing out the Kali just for the sake of having extra throwables. Keep in mind that those lances, they can and will be caught out by ADSs as well as my pancakes. In this case, there's only the ADSs to worry about. So on top of that, they can also detonate things such as deployable shields and any other kind of gadgetry that it makes contact with. I'm pretty sure that the thought process behind CW is just having a little bit of extra explosive utility. Basically just like 3 pocket Gone 6s all attached to a single sniper rifle. So I'm thinking that that is exactly what CW want to achieve, just basically fast forwarding the process of clearing out utility.
Yeah, not only that, Emil, I mean, it can remove shields, can't it? So, I mean, that shield on top of piano, it's just essential for this whole side, sorry, for this whole kind of round defense. It can almost shut up a full round, and maybe that's what Dicta was thinking, because I believe she is the IGL for this team. So in that case, maybe she's thinking, like, do you know what, we'll get rid of this shield, and then that way, that late flank does work. But if that's the case, if you want the late flank to work, then you need to burn that shield early, and that's not the case so far. Look at this. Maybe potentially the two-way angle, the two-way sight. Oh no, they're trading bullets back and forth, but running away, and it looks as if Mo won't actually get that frag.
And neither will Vulcanoid as well. Both of those players, if they moved a single inch further, one of them would have surely gone down. The first person to go down, however, is Kensho. And they can be revived back to 20 HP as well, but that is still a lot of damage dealt. And as you said, the flank is now being exhibited, but it doesn't exactly have the lethal impact that it needed to. Sure, Call Me Dicta is going to be left on roughly half HP, but they're going to go on the hunt as well, as Vaps is scampering his way down through the basement. That's going to buy PW some desperately needed time as well. We have yet to see any proper casualties on either side. All 10 members in this lobby are still alive and kicking. And as we have 75 seconds left to go, CW, they need to give themselves the green light. They need to get this execution into motion.
Yeah, they do. They need to do a lot of work, though. And look at Mr. Joe. He's playing a bit of an off position, and that off position is actually gone to give dividends. James, he's trying to see if he can catch off Hyde. Look at them. They're holding really tight angles, but nobody netting any sort of damage. Mo still playing passive, making sure to use that SMG11 and Toxic Babes. Hyde doing a lot of damage to Dicta, but the entry comes in. Vabs with a refrag. Dicta down on the floor, and look at this. The Callies came in. She does have that SMG out. Vabs shutting down Dicta. And now it's up to the two remaining players. It is the Kelly and it is the Iana. Mo, Vabs, Closer and Mr. Joe setting up these crossfires. They're making it ever so harder to get into this site, especially with the diffuser being cold. You could easily see this being overtime now, 2 doors.
Definitely could be. Diffuser deep inside of enemy territory. PW, they hold on to it, and they certainly hold on to this round. CW, they're not being given a single inch to work with as Vabs. He's gonna close it off in fashion, ladies and gents, and all people of the internet. A lovely C4 to immediately dispose of the last 2 attacking players, and just like that, well, we didn't think it was possible roughly, 5 or 6 rounds ago, but PW, they have done it. They have been able to play a flawless match of Rainbow Six in the last 5 rounds to force us all the way to overtime. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of us, myself included, were expecting this to be a nice, quick, and easy 7-round Chalet matchup. But nah. That has not been the case whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly looking like it. I mean, Woggy Woggy, they just had the answers that they needed to find. They just found everything, and with them starting on defense as well, I've got to say, advantage must be in favour of Poggy Woggy, especially with the fact that they have all the momentum in this matchup.
Yeah, and that is going to be something really difficult for CW to dismantle. 5 unanswered rounds. How do you put an end to that? I don't personally see it happening.
I don't see it happening either, but at the same time, we've seen weirder things happen in Rainbow Six. I mean, come on. I mean, we've literally just seen one of the weirdest things happen with, I mean, what, a 5-round, 6-round comeback? Come on.
I don't know. I mean, it certainly doesn't live up to the glory of the EG versus Penta Grand Final, but it's kind of like right up there. It's like 1 tier below it. It's still been really, really entertaining, though, and I definitely have to commend PW for being able to rally themselves and muster the strength to be able to accomplish something of this caliber. But don't get me wrong, there are still 3 potential rounds that we need to play through. CW, once again, on the attack, on a very, very defender-sided Chalet matchup. What are they going to do differently this time? I personally really don't know. They have struggled to dislodge the player that is actually now the Hyde, who I believe is at the top. Or actually, no, the Hyde, he is inside of Closet over by Library. Now they have to deal with Mr. Joe for the 3rd time in a row with this particular setup once again. It's going to be just as tough as it was the last time to dislodge this top floor presence.
I think if Mr. Joe continues to be on top of Ivy Stairs here, I think we can just crown him the king of Ivy Stairs. Let's be honest, because this man has not been displaced once. He's played it almost perfectly every single time, and you've got to give him commendations for that. One thing I would like to see from Combat Wombats is something they did late in last round as a bit of desperation, putting pressure on from bottom blue, because look, nobody is watching it. Look where all the players are, they're all in towards site. Vabs, though, look to where he is, he's underneath Master, potentially going for a late flank. That's something that will be interesting to see late in the round.
We've already exhausted half of the timer thus far, and Mr. Joe is going to strike for the first time. Call Me Dicta is now down in the dirt, and so is Vulcanoid, the man advantage, now clearly sitting with PW, as they only have 3 more players to power through before they get themselves OT match points. And it's not all too tricky to accomplish, but that was a lovely shot by James, as I had to burp simultaneously of the play-by-play. And Mr. Joe, once again, he's going to cause so much more chaos as he shuts down Kensho. That leaves us in a 4v2 scenario. So, well, CW, they have claimed control of the top floor, but they had to lose 3 players in the process of doing so. I personally don't see this as a win. What I do see as a win is that they're able to click on 4 heads simultaneously. James, taking a boatload of damage, is going to be deterred from that position, and yeah, CW, they don't have any openings to work with. Almost each and every single nook and cranny of this bottom floor is entirely covered by PW. CW, they once again need a very big miracle to close this off.
Yeah, I mean, miracles come few and far between, especially in this game, and especially when all you do is play passive and, I mean, set up crossfires. PW, their playing is almost perfect with the way that they're set up, and Vabs is going to pick up James and making Yoink look a little bit worse for wear. Time slowly ticking down as we hit red. 5 seconds left for him to find 4 players. He's going to find 1, find 2! But, I mean, that's all he's going to get. It's just exit frags. The defenders win the round. Nice and easy. I thought potentially if he had maybe 10 more seconds, you could easily maybe have won on that round. But, I mean, that's not the case.
No, that is something that we could chew on, speaking hypothetically. What is there to say at this certain point? PW, they are just an unstoppable machine, but now they're going to be returning to the attacking side, a side which they have not been on for the last 7 rounds. I don't know how this particular round is going to transpire. Naturally, CW are now moving back onto the quote-unquote most favored side, because this has been a very defender-sided clubhouse. This is their chance to equalize things up and force us all the way to round 15. The full distance, this is their last shot. But because of the fact that PW have just been on a massive win streak, it's going to be difficult to try to knock down all of that momentum that has been built up.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that we can say, $2, is the fact that both of these teams deserve at least 1 point, because they've been playing absolutely amazingly, especially on the defense. One thing, though, is we need to see Poggy Woggy make the good adaptations that they need to make. We need to see them capitalising on the mistakes of Combat Wombats, because, I mean, let's be honest, last time Combat Wombats were just so dominant on the defense. Yeah. Can that continue? Can they continue and regain the form that they found in this first split is something that I'm interested to find out. And then if that's the case, we go to that 1-round shootout. And it's going to be a hard one to call for me.
I think we've already gone way past the point of predictions at this certain point. We just have to let the players do the talking. The 10 gladiators in the arena, well, their fates may or may not be decided in this next round right here. It's up to them. And more importantly, it's up to CW to see if they can keep the dream alive of, well, basically getting themselves the full 2 points that they so desperately need. Naturally, 1 point is good, but that's not going to actually shoot them up through the rankings, through the leaderboard. That is a result, but not the one that they were looking for. At least not given how dominant they were at the very, very start of Chalet. But top floor defense, and surprisingly enough, that Zofia impact didn't connect with the Kaid Claw, because it's just a tad bit further above on the actual ceiling itself. So that's going to have to be more than likely manually dealt with. A couple of rounds well placed can effectively allow PW to get that breach wide open, but time continues to drain. We've already exhausted an entire minute in PW, they have yet to start applying any real pressure. But as I say that, Mr. Joe is the first to strike. Down goes James and down goes the Kaid. The highest fragger on the side of CW has now effectively been laid to rest.
He may be the highest fragger, but he's not the only one fragging out. Bjoink and Dicta still exist. Dicta on the roam still, and Bjoink holding down this site from Bathroom, Kensho and Toe with all those toxic babes. So let's be honest, it's not totally out of hand yet, but one thing I will say is PW almost seem as if they're stalling out, but they may be getting that information. Look how many's on drones. 3 on drones. That's a huge amount of information being gained from Poggy Woggy. But will they be able to turn this into an actual round? I believe that will probably be the site opened up, but Vabs is opening up the kill count once again, getting rid of Vulcanoid. Dicta in towards dining area. Will she move out? Will she get the frag onto the Ayana? No! Hyde swinging hard. Vabs getting another, and now it's down to Bjork. 55 seconds remaining. They need to get the plant down soon for Combat Wombats to put this extra pressure onto Bjoink. A flawless round from Poggy Woggy. And I mean, flawless for 8 rounds. No, sorry, not 8, 7 rounds in a row. That's absolutely huge.
I haven't seen a performance like this in a very, very long time. The 6-1 comeback. It is real, ladies and gentlemen. Poggy Woggy are able to maintain pole position as they are now sat at 5 points. This has been an absolutely exceptional match, and quite the comeback it was. The first time that I have ever seen a defender-sided, well, Chalet ever. I'm absolutely blown away by how well Combat Wombats were able to start off Chalet roughly an hour ago. They were in the driver's seat for so very long until they hit match points. And then it was just a constant mentality of, come on, we just need one more round, and they kept saying that to themselves like 7 times in a row, because that's how long it actually took before CW were finally then forced to overtime themselves. PW, they've put on an absolutely massive performance, throwing caution to the wind and just playing their little hearts out. High risk, high reward plays was the only thing that I had actually seen. They were playing as if they had nothing to lose, because if they lost a single round, well, that was it. Done deal, done story with them, but they didn't. That was the magical and mystical part about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, though, one thing I want to point out is I think Vabs before the split was something like only on 3 kills. And after overtime, he was on 16. Yeah. So, I mean, that obviously is going to change the outcome of the match, especially when you've got players popping off like that. He must have just got fed up carrying on and just decided, right, it's time to win the match. It's time to actually show Combat Wombat how to do it. But the thing is, though, Toodles, me and you, we need to get a little rest for our throats and actually get set up for this next match, because we've been shouting for quite a long time. So, you guys, will be 5 minutes. We'll get the next lobby set up and get ready to go.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Playday number 3 of Bool Season 3. We have had quite the exciting series, 2 series I should say, thus far this evening. Both matches, Team Trident versus IOM as well as CW versus PW, they both ended off 8-6. Not all 15 rounds of overtime were needed for either of those 2 matchups. So I genuinely don't hope that we go to overtime on this last one as well. Naturally, we have got Team Atlas going up against Veggie Patch for our final match to close off the evening. 2 teams that I personally haven't yet actually seen physically with my own eyes, so I have no idea exactly what to expect from this own series. My expectations are going to be lowered very, very low because I personally want to be surprised. I want to see both of these 2 squads pull out all the stops. They both are scrambling for points, as is everybody for the time being. But more importantly, Team Atlas are, because they don't have any points in their name thus far. Veggie Patch, they are currently sat on 3rd, and if they are able to back themselves 3 full points, they will then be able to overtake PW and claim 1st position as their own, because PW, they won in overtime, so that means only 2 points. They're sat at 5 in total for the time being. So important matchup for Veggie Patch, and I'm personally going to be backing them up this time around. I know I'm not supposed to be a biased caster, I just really want to build a narrative. What about you, Cairo? Who are you backing up this time?
I mean, you really can't look past Veggie Patch. They beat Triton last week, and I mean, they beat them pretty convincingly. They lost, the way you've got to look at it, right, on Oregon, Veggie Patch lost their defense and then went on to win 4 rounds on the attack. With the current meta, you could say, like, oh yeah, attackers are more favoured nowadays. But, I mean, that's impressive. Like, you have to give them... that is impressive nonetheless, whatever way you look at it against Triton. Whereas you look towards Atlas, they took the advantage on the attack and then ended up losing it out on the defence. So, again, as like you said, I actually am favouring Veggie Patch.
Okay, well, speaking of Veggie Patch, let's go ahead and actually, well, we'll set the map bans aside. We'll get to those in just a minute. I first want to quickly go over all of the the teams and the players that are going to be, well, sort of making up all the teams for the time being. On side of Veggie Patch, we've got Sturksy, Tsunami, Earl Grey, Stakes, as well as Bobcat. That is VP. On the other side of the spectrum, Team Atlas, we've got Atlantic, Not, NSJ Sauce. We got Elacin Pie. That's going to be a name that I'm going to be struggling with. Pie, Elacin Pie? I really don't know. As well as Saki's. That one's a bit easier, despite the fact that it has a bunch of Z's and Y's thrown into it. But regardless, those are your 2 teams that are going to be closing off Monday Night Bool. It's actually just starting to hit me as to why we broadcast Bool on Monday nights and Tuesday nights, because we're stealing and robbing all of WWE's viewership. Who needs to watch Monday Night Raw? Come and watch Monday Night Bool.
Well, the thing is, though, I think Productions just told us that Team Atlas actually have a substitute that is Rory. And if you look back to last week's Playday, Rory, I mean, he was probably, the most effective player in that whole matchup, which is maybe worrying, but I mean, he has a substitute potentially. I mean, it was just having a good game. I don't know, but if we look towards Veggie Patch, we have to talk about the players on there, and there is Sturksy and Earl Grey.
True. Very, very competent rosters on both squads, but let's go ahead and quickly dive into the map bans, because we are running short on time and we are just about ready to actually hop into the matchup as well. So let's quickly run through these. Oregon and Cafe, those are going to be our 2 auto bans, despite the fact that both of these 2 squads played Oregon last week as well. Cafe is just there because we said so. We don't want to watch Cafe, so that's basically our word above yours, whatever. Consulate and Villa are the next 2 maps to go, so it's very, very real that we could potentially be revisiting Clubhouse and Chalet. We'll just have to wait and see as these next 2 ones are banning out. So, there it is. We shall be visiting Chalet for the 2nd time this evening. Now, usually, seeing one map once, it's completely fine. Seeing it twice, it may be a bit of it just may be a bit bleh, but I don't know. I'm always down for a good Chalet match, and I think we will have a lot of material as well to sort of compare and contrast the match between CW and PW to this one as well. I desperately don't think that it's going to play in the exact same fashion whatsoever. I don't think it's going to be that defender-sided. We'll just have to wait and see, as we are just about ready to hop on this pony and jump into the action.
Yep, definitely. As we head into this game, I mean, Poggy Woggy and, CW, they showed us exactly how to play a defense on this map. But the thing is, though, are we going to see Team Atlas shows how to play attack, or maybe even Veggie Patch? With the bans coming in 2 doors, who are you expecting to be banned out? I mean, probably you could put your mortgage on Thatcher being the first one. Oh.
I don't even have a mortgage built up.
Well, I mean,
but Sophia,
yeah.
the Sophia being banned is very, very interesting. It has been a hot minute since I've seen Sophia be banned, period. So this is certainly going to spice things up. Naturally, in case if you guys are just tuning in and you missed out our previous matchup between PW and CW, we saw Thatcher, Flores, Mira, and Valk be left on the bleachers. The only difference thus far is obviously that Sophia. So Flores is going to actually make it through the ban phase. These last 2 defender bans could potentially be really, really interesting. We might see a repeat. We might see both Mira and Valk once again be left to the bleachers. We'll just have to wait and see as the bans do indeed come on out. It's instead going to be a Kaid, which is relatively interesting because previously, CW versus PW, Kaid actually caused a couple of issues for the attackers in almost each and every single round.
He's just such a strong operator. The fact that you can hide the Cade clause makes everything so much worse, makes it so hard to find. And with Valkyrie being banned, I mean, that's pretty standard. The information that she can give is pretty horrible. You can get caught off guard by C4s and the likes if you can't find those black eye cameras. Another thing is, as well, is if you want to combat her, you need to bring an IQ. And if you bring an IQ 2 doors, I mean, you lose out on a lot of utility as well.
That is very, very true. But one thing you don't lose out on is overall fragging power. I know the G8 may no longer have its ACOG, and it may no longer even have a 1.5x, which is something that I'm going to write a very, very sternly worded email to Ubisoft about later this evening. But still, that G8, it can still be a very, very menacing weapon in the right hands. But naturally, we don't see IQ all that often because she has lost those high optics. Instead, we do see an Amaru a bit more often than not. So it's still definitely a possibility in the event that Team Atlas are like, screw it, let's go ahead and throw something at V-Patch that they aren't expecting. But that is just all but hypotheticals. Sturksy, he's going to be donning the mirror this time around. One of my favorite operators in case if it wasn't already apparent, but on the top floor of Master Bedroom and Office, it's going to be really, really interesting to see exactly how these mirror windows are going to be utilized. You can't necessarily place one inside of Closet because there's nowhere to actually peer into. Ideally, you would place one inside of Office that is looking down the hallway all the way to the Ivy staircase. That is an option for one of those mirror windows. The second one, I'm not all too sure about.
It's interesting that he's decided to place that one facing in towards bathroom to kind of contest anybody that creates a crossfire there. But whether Atlas decide to, attack them head on or do the best form of counter picking towards kind of Mira is just don't go anywhere near her Mira windows. So, yeah. Well, first one, it looks as if NSG Sauce is going to head up towards Solarium, but he's coming off his rappel. I don't know if Team Atlas have made a decision on what they want to do yet, but I mean, it looks like it's going to be a Solarium take.
Yeah, probably. They have the tools to also exert a lot of vertical pressure from down below. Naturally, we've got Not with that skeleton key, and if the information is good, he can definitely sort of render those mirror windows useless from down below. But as I said, only if the information is bang on. Stakes is going to take a bit of damage as Tsunami deals with that Gemini replicator, but he'll be, well, receiving quite a bit of damage from Not down below once again. This is exactly what I was talking about. Vertical pressure from down below is going to force the players from Veggie directly outside of Solarium. So now it is technically free real estate for that lot. And that is just a single prong. You need a second prong and able to properly get yourself on the bomb site. So what are they going to opt to do instead? Potentially a repel on the window over by Master? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see exactly what Team Atlas's thought process is.
Oh, definitely. They need to gain control of Solarium, and I don't mean just actually having players on the stairs. I mean full control. It looks as if the buck is actually going to get down by Tsunami with that P10 Roni. Again, no one there to contest him. That's it. They're not going to actually find this player. He's going to be able to sneak away. Atlantic getting a great kill coming up from behind. And it looks like, I believe this is Errol Grey on the Harambe sneaking up West Main. But does he know Buck's right next to him? Was he potentially baiting out for anybody trying to come back for the revive? And there goes Joe down into the dirt, rotating away. And Atlantic going down as well. It's not looking good for Atlas as Rory makes his entry.
Okay, he's able to shut down Bobcat, so that does leave us in an effective 2v3 scenario, and he's in the prime position to plan. Coverage is being provided by Rory as well, over by the window, as the C4 is primed and ready. Tossed out it goes, and it doesn't connect, not even dealing a little bit of damage over towards Saki's. Rory finds one onto Harambe's. Tsunami is able to find the trade immediately beforehand. Sturksy is going to confirm that kill, leaving us in a 1v1 scenario, scampering his way through the closet. He's able to get the defuse, or at the very least try to stick it, or at the very least, once again, try to bait Rory into forcing his way in, and in comes the repel. Sturksy falls off for the time being, and Rory isn't aware of his position at all, and there's so much time for Sturksy to work with. From the cusp of hell, from the depths of hell, I should say, Veggie Patch are able to clutch it off. It may have been a messy round, all things considered, but we have a victor, and that is the defense. Veggie Patch, they lead with the first round.
Veggie Patch, I mean, it looked as if... Sorry, I said it was Rory entry, but it was actually Saschi's making his entry the ace, and it was so well done. Veggie Patch being able to claw that round back. Sturksy with a great clutch there, and I mean, he's well known for doing that. Didn't have a great season last season, but this season certainly looks to be his. Veggie Patch with the first round on that top floor defense, and I mean, at the end of the day, though, you could almost say that Atlas, they should have taken that round. They should have taken it away from the meta, but they just didn't. They weren't able to. And a cap can being brought out, this could probably catch a few players off guard.
I think the main reason why I was actually backing up Team Atlas in that particular round is because of the fact that who was the player inside a bathroom that was playing on the Aruni? Was it Tsunami?
Yeah, it was Tsunami.
I think it might have been Tsunami, yeah. I think they got unnecessarily greedy with trying to clean up the player that was down below in West Main that was in the DBNO status. You saw that Tsunami was basically punching away at the floorboard and trying to confirm the kill. That was a bit unnecessary because they knew there was a looming threat inside of Solarium. They could have just as easily scampered away from that position to keep their life in tow as the round progressed. That was a really, really good punishment that was dealt on the side of Team Atlas, effectively punishing Tsunami for their greed.
Oh no.
Speechless.
No ways that just happened. Sturksy, what are you doing? Oh, that's the my disc gone. And a nice shot coming out in chat.
Science. Science doesn't have the balls to type that. That's right. I'm calling out our observer live on the air. He don't got the balls. There
he is.
Nice.
Well, I mean, Team Atlas, they'll take that, especially when we've seen the last two teams defending Barstock. It was pretty convincing, so much utility to burn through, trying to displace again this Ivy player. Will they be able to do it this time? They were gone, so there's not so many discs, but remember there will be ADSs on top of the shield. Was it Stakes on top of Ivy that's actually going to be protecting this shield?
Probably. It's either him or Tsunami, and by the looks of it, it is Stakes indeed. Thanks for confirming that, Science. And, well, unfortunately enough, Sturksy didn't actually get the chance to toss out all his pancakes. Stakes is going to have to make do with just his ADSs alone. Tsunami takes a mess load of damage, but also deals some over towards Not, but only a single round away from death, and even a single sort of like explosive shrapnel away from death. Well, you're in a very precarious position now, stuck over by a flower pot at the top of Fireplace. How are you going to get yourself out of this one? Not anytime soon. The only way you do so is by opening Death's door. Courtesy of NSJ Sauce, that happens. So, V-Patch, they now find themselves in a 3v5 scenario, and they've almost entirely forfeited control of the top floor, but Stakes, he's not willing to go down without a fight, or at least he's willing to go down but completely avoid the fight for the time being. Now we have just surpassed the halfway mark of the round, and Team Atlas, they have surely claimed control of top floor whether they know it or not. Every single player on the side of V-Patch is now back downstairs reinforcing the bomb site.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, this is it. They're just trying to reinforce what control they actually have left. So now Team Atlas, they need to do the work. They need to do some sort of soft destruction, gain angles to actually shut down any sort of players that try to displace them, try to get frags. They need to leverage the control they have into a round win. Harambe is actually trying to stop them doing that, going to get a kill onto Atlantic. That's your Ayana gone, but remember there's still 4 players left. Sitches. Oh, what a great shot onto NSJ Sauce, and now it's looking like Atlas are a little worse for wear. Rory's going to walk into that EDD, that cap can mine on one of the doors, and now he's down to low HP. It's looking like all the health is in favour of Veggie Patch.
Indeed.
Can they gain the control? Can they gain the site control? Two doors. Is Nat's going to actually take down the Jaeger?
Yeah, indeed he does, but he can't necessarily walk into that toxic bait gas either without taking a lot of damage. Rory shuts down Harambe for his earlier crimes as it's all down to Bobcat. The diffuser is actually starting to go down and he's stuck inside of the stock room. From across the hall, Rory is just raining rounds left, right, and center, and the clock has been reset down to 45 seconds. Bobcat, he has to make the first move, and he's able to actually shut down Rory. The last bullet in the mag, it's bang on the money. Now he just has one player to power through who was actually injured by the gas. Hello? There's no way that just happened. Bobcat is going to realize that he's got a free kill to confirm. There it is. And V-Patch, they're able to maintain their win streak, building it up to 2. Both of these 2 rounds that we have seen thus far came so close, but this one was just a bit more obnoxious than the last one.
The cap can coming in clutch in the end. Who would have thought that putting a cap can in sight would have actually won them the round? Oh my god. I can't believe Veggiepatch have clutched that out. Not by like sheer gun skill or mechanical ability, but placing a cap can mine in sight. Surely you're going to be stumping yourself after that one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I always love Capcan being shown and brought out just because of the fact that, well, it softens up a lot of attackers that are unaware to those EDDs. But what just happened right over there, and I can't get confirmation from Science as well, that it wasn't a toxic babe gas that injured the last attacker. They simply just walked through an EDD and boom, they were injured. It's rough. But still, that kind of impact, it is a bargain. If you're thinking about, how do I fit in this and that defensive operator into my strategy to make sure that it's always best in slot and it always lives up to the current meta, just don't even bother. Bring out a Capcan, it will pay dividends.
Well, I mean, he's paying dividends in rounds so far, and I mean, they're continuing to take him. Maybe this time, maybe check your doorways, check your angles before pushing through blindly. Maybe the scenario got to him, that 1 versus 1 post-plant situation. Surely you've been in many before, Satches. Come on, man, you're a good player. We've seen you last season. I'm just disappointed. Anyway, we head down to the bottom floor site, the dreaded site, the one that all the statistics are against the defense. So, 2 doors. Can Team Atlas actually win out this site? The thing is, though, they had the advantage last round, and I mean, they leveraged it pretty well. It was a 3 versus 1 coming down to that plant going down. They just couldn't win it out. It just, I mean, the clutch Capcan.
Yeah, it's the clutch Capcan indeed. I gotta say that Team Atlas, they have been so close to winning out the last 2 rounds. We have essentially seen each and every single round basically boil down to a glorified 1v1 scenario. Yeah. And at that certain point, it becomes so difficult to call who takes the dub. We simply don't know because it always comes right down to the nail. Both in each and every single... these 2 teams, they're fighting tooth and nail for the advantage, but we simply don't know because the advantage just dwindles away on both squads. It is so bloody entertaining to watch it go absolutely down to the wire every single time.
Yeah, big time. I mean, Capcan just escaped with his life there. As we've seen, all the guns was trained down that corridor on West Main, but Capcan escaping, I mean, doing a bit of an Italian job like we saw last night. But Rory, he's not doing an Italian job. He's doing a job similar to a hitman taking out another player, but there goes Nat. A lovely long angle all the way to, I mean, square on top of fireplace. That's a great kill from him, and there goes your Maverick.
Oh, and there goes Rory as well, left in the DBNO status as Sturks is able to shut down Joe. That leaves Team Atlas in a 4v3 scenario, and once again, well, we've touted this bomb site, the basement, to be, well, heavily attacker-sided, but thus far we have seen in this evening the basement be brought out twice, and both times it is being favored by the defense quite heavily as well. Team Atlas, they've only got a single Selma charge to work with. One's already been expended on the elbow corridor, or the elbow wall, I should say, as Saki's is able to shut down Tsunami, and now they're starting to barge their way in. Atlantic, he's able to find one, he finds a second as well, Saki's to collect the last, and just like that, Team Atlas, showing nothing but raw, unbridled aggression, they gave themselves the green light, they barged into the bomb site, and they were able to close it off in their favor. Just one more is all that is needed for them to tie up the scoreline, but that was a massive victory in and of its own.
Oh yeah, the entry there from I believe it was Atlantic on the Ayana, the ARX just caught catching the Goyo, and just before he died he also got the mute, trying to reload his SMG, and then the player in towards Connector, I mean it was all guns trained on him, all guns on his head, and he just fell. That's it, Team Atlas finally have that round that they were searching for. They have one, they just need two to make it that natural split that we're so used to in terms of 4-2 in favour of the defenders. We head back upstairs. Look at this entry into the Goyo, and then he swings hard into the mute. It was the player getting the refrag from Connector. The cat can getting dropped fairly quickly. I mean, that was just a great round there from Atlas to, take the round from the grasp of Veggiepatch.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Veggiepatch, they didn't actually have a lot working in their favor either. Sure, it was a 3v3 scenario and it was almost impossible to call, but Team Atlas, they only had one realistic avenue to push down, and all three players, they were stacked over by that northern portion of the map over by Trench. They only opened up the wine wall that is shared with red. That is the only entry point that they had, and they were still able to pull it out simply because of the fact that Atlantic went absolutely massive. The distraction was that breach, and then in swoops Atlantic, finds 2 easy kills, and just like that, they threw a spanner into the works of VP.
Yeah, without a doubt. This is the thing though, the start of this round, we'll need to see how Atlas can actually somehow learn from the mistakes of last. It was down to a 1 versus 1 scenario, and when it comes down to that, strategy really goes out the window. But I mean, the macro strategy I should say, from Atlas was a pretty decent one. They managed to get the plant down even though they were at a man disadvantage. I believe it was 2 actually. And then they were able to leverage that round closer and closer, again down to that 1 versus 1 scenario.
Yeah, and that was because, well, Sturksy decided to say, screw it, let me pull out some Herculean plays and clutch up big time. And you know what? I'm all for it as well. Team Atlas, they did find themselves in the position where they maintained the man advantage in that 2v1 scenario, but Sturksy, man, you can't compete. Or maybe you can. Maybe I'm just spouting absolute bullcrap. I don't know.
That's interesting. They've opened up the floor below the kind of big window and towards Master, potentially putting again something that I mentioned before, this phantom pressure. Rory's now got to consistently think about below, and now Atlas have to clear out below to see if there's any potential roamers. Maybe it might be a late drop, but takes it with a great shot onto the Nomad. Look,
oh no!
What?
Oh no. That was bad. You could see that, I think it was Atlantic, he was actually prepping a frag grenade.
Yeah,
that missed, and Joe actually took damage for it. Tsunami then dropped down, cleaned up, no, he didn't even clean up the frag. It was Atlantic who got the trade, or he got the TK, I should say, and it was just a whole cluster bumbus of, it was just a mess. But regardless though, Atlantic is able to shut down Sturksy for his past crimes. Now we're once again in an even playing field. It's a 3v3 scenario with Team Atlas firmly sat with control of Solarium for the time being. Veggiepatch, they have so many different things to worry about, including not going absolutely galactic. Finds the head of Harambe, but Bobcat is going to clap back with a frag onto Saki's. Now, that's a 2v2. This is still doable for both squads. Exactly who it's going to be, I don't know. But Solarium, no, it's no longer in the control of Atlas. In goes the repeat, and Stakes loses that gunfight. Bobcat, he has 2 players to worry about. Whips out the shotgun, but can't land the buckshot. But oh no, it was actually the skeleton key to do it, to close it all out. Team Atlas, they're able to find their second round here on Chalet.
Oh my god, when I seen the Jaeger swing and trying to catch the buck off guard, and then he got fragged out straight away, and then the buck was just deep in sight. It's like, is the mute gonna get him? What's gonna happen here? It was just consistent drama. But now we're even on the score line here, 2 doors. We're heading back down to Bart and Gaming. If I remember last time, it was 3 men against 1 heading into a post-plant scenario, and then a Capcan decided to clutch it all out.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually Bobby who was left in that 1vx scenario, and then, yeah, it was, as you said, the EED, or the EDD, not the EED. That is Lion's Gadget. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the EDD that dealt the final nail into the coffin for Team Atlas and sent them to the Forever Box, losing them the round, or costing them the round, I should say.
That's
Luckily,
oh, sorry,
before I hand it over to you, luckily for Team Atlas, they don't have to worry about Capcan. Veggie Patch, they've gone the other direction.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't understand why Ubisoft decided to name every gadget similar. I believe Vigil's gadgets along those lines as well. I mean,
the ERC7, I think.
Oh, is it? Sorry, I thought it was something like Double E as well. I was just going to say, like, I mean, Ubisoft need to think of the casters. I believe in the dev process, they need to include casters. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on,
true,
Ubi.
true. I mean, for the love of Christ, just cut us some slack and call his ER7 just a glorified Wi-Fi router if you need to.
Oh,
that's all we want. It's not a big ask, Ubi.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thing is though, all we want is consistent drama throughout this matchup. Atlas versus Veggie Patch has just been 2 each, and I mean, if we think about it from this point of view, Two Doors, this was the same kind of scenario when Veggie Patch played Triton, but when they went on attack, I mean, it was just scary. But we're a while away from that yet. We've still got 2 rounds to go. As we see here, Atlas, they're just doing the work that they need to do. They're actually clearing out. I thought they had missed the default cam there, but I mean, that will definitely give away Atlas's attack going in towards this kind of, I mean, kitchen area.
Now I'm actually curious what they're going to do about the player that is over by Ivy. Because of the fact that they were sort of forcing their way in through the lower floors of Chalet, I was thinking maybe we'll see some kind of blue push from down below working their way up the staircase to deal with stakes, but they've soon actually reconsidered. Team Atlas, they're going to throw all of their eggs into a single basket and try to outright deal with it the old-fashioned way. Sturksy is going to take a boatload of damage, but trade some back over towards NSJ Sauce as well. Now he's rotating over towards the other window, not the piano one, the other one, to then toss in some util and force stakes off of his position. And I'm pretty sure he's soon going to forfeit this spot over the top of Ivy. I think those ADSs might be forced back onto cooldown, but he won't live to see it. Not is able to pick him up, and Sturksy will clap back. Shuts down Atlantic, so we're back in a 4v4. 75 seconds left to go. In Team Atlas, they are slowly but surely gaining control of this top floor, but they may soon have a change of heart as Rory finds the first. Sturksy is able to clap back once again. He is always there at the right place at the right time to secure the trade for V-Patch, and they desperately rely on it. 3v3 now as Saki is actually working his way in towards top fireplace. Harambe, being the sole contender there, is finally dealt with as well, courtesy of Knots, and Sturksy is going to have to forfeit that position once again. It's held onto Team Atlas, but look at this. Bobcat is able to shut down Nod. I believe he was caught over by Gaming Doorway, and this leaves us in a 2v2. It's been back and forth the entire way through, and 35 seconds left to go. This is going to come down to the wire as Team Atlas. They've got to force their way in. The hatch is open. It is a usable and viable avenue for them to drop on down, but they've gone into the main lobby instead. Do they know that Sturksy is inside kitchen? I don't think they do. Sturksy shuts down Rory and he scampers away, but Saki's is there for the trade once again. We hit mission critical as Saki spots out Space Bobcat, and just like that, he finds the double to close it all off for Team Atlas. 3 rounds in a row by the attackers. Veggie Patch, they have run into a very, very unfortunate concrete wall with that round, but my oh my, moments of heroism on the side of Team Atlas.
Veggie Patch were turned into compost there. My god, Team Atlas started popping off there. It was trade after trade. And I mean, some of the shots were absolutely ridiculous. I believe it was Nat on the F2 being able to take out the player that was on top of Ivy. I mean, we got a glimpse at the angle and it was honestly minuscule. It was pixel. So this is it. We are now moving towards master bedroom and office. We've already seen here, Team Atlas were close to heroics last time. Are they actually going to be able to close it out once again? We saw the deep dive into sight, the kind of last minute drama. Will Veggie Patch actually be able to almost set up for this kind of take that Team Atlas have done 2 times in a row? Let's be honest, they've not really reinvented the wheel here. They went for the same Solarium take twice. We saw it already so many times in the previous matchup, also 2 doors. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, surely Atlas somehow, I mean, adjust to what... Sorry, so Veggie Patch adjust to what Atlas are doing.
what adjustments can actually be made, because they love to heavily contest the bathroom, but the moment the Team Atlas are able to actually get themselves proper footing inside of there, you can basically render that entire position entirely useless. What did happen last time is Tsunami was directly contesting Solarium by physically being inside of it, and they technically walked away with 2 kills, despite the fact that Team Atlas secured 1 team kill of their own. And that effectively set us, if I'm not mistaken, in a 4v3 scenario favoring Veggie Patch last time around. So there is not much that can actually be done differently by Veggie Patch. It just really depends on how well they're actually able to hold on to the bomb site the moment that Solarium is indeed given up.
Well, it looks like we're not even going to get any action on towards Solarium. As look, NSG Sauce gets his first frag in towards Library Corridor. Let's be honest, that's a great entry there. He's finally seen our entry pop off on the Ash. He's going to go below and try and get the things, the mute jammer, off the wall. And there we go, the Selma charges begin. And look, the new buff towards the mute jammers is actually going to shut down that Claymore. Saki's actually jumping in and maybe getting caught off guard by guns that were in towards Library. He wasn't expecting that, but he retreats with his tail between his legs.
Yeah, for the time being, live to fight another day, or live to fight the rest of the round, as Rainbow Six Siege would usually say. Nod is able to find the first frag on the side of Team Atlas with a lovely, well-placed frag grenade, but that's soon going to be traded out once again. Tsunami is going once again pretty galactic, but they don't realize that Sauce is working his way in through bathroom as Sakis is able to dome Tsunami. Here comes the Ash of Joe. He finds stakes, and just like that, it's all down to Harambe, a small man with big dreams, stuck inside a piano, finds 1. Can he go for 2? Not for the time being just yet. No one on the side of Team Atlas is offering themselves up just yet. 60 seconds left to go. Then he finds himself on the wrong end of a mirror window, and soon on the wrong end of a gun barrel of the ARX. Atlantic is able to close it all off, and Team Atlas, they have picked up 4 rounds entirely unanswered on the offensive side, and they end off the first half with a scoreline of 4-2.
I mean, I was worried for Atlas. They kept making minor mistakes, and I thought, these minor mistakes keep happening. Veggie Patch are the ones that are going to be able to just capitalise on them and run ahead. But, I mean, Atlas are the ones that are running. They're running with a 2-round advantage. That's absolutely huge. And
yeah.
Kudos. Oh, okay. I didn't even mention it this time. Clash was flashed, but Frost is being brought out. The shield with that Stellan SMG and all those hog mats being brought in tow.
I'm not playing Tarkov after no Harambe.
I might be playing Tarkov. Science tell me I might.
Yeah, you can definitely tell them that Kyro's going to be on Tarkov. I unfortunately don't own the game.
Yeah, I mean, World of Warcraft for you, am I right?
Yeah,
It beckons. Life.
It beckons. Obviously, after I'm done with this particular broadcast, I'm quickly going to grab myself some food and continue making bank on the auction house. It's just what I do. But what I also do, and currently at this very moment, is scream at random pixels on my own screen. And that's what I'm going to continue doing. So, Team Atlas, they're now on the defensive side. Their first round, they have chosen to go down into bar and gaming. We are once again going to be seeing a rather standardized setup with a lot of emphasis being placed over towards that Ivy staircase. A main focal point throughout the entirety of the last 2 matches, including this one that we have seen on Chalet. How are V-Patch going to deal with this for the time being is the question that remains unanswered temporarily. Harambe, not wasting a single precious moment, is willing to barge his way into the bomb site and catch Team Atlas off guard, which he does so exemplary. Rory is the first to fall, and Harambe is going to take the spoils, being the victor, and just move elsewhere, move on with his life and cause some further chaos elsewhere. But now, Team Atlas, they may have been struck into disarray after losing 1 player entirely for free. So now, how are you going to adjust? How are you going to adjust to this? I don't know.
I'm going to say something. That is absolutely beautiful play from Harambe, right? He's got the frag and then just dipped, right? And then he's creating this kind of ghost, again, phantom pressure. I've talked about it so much in the past 3 matchups. Is the fact that he just dips and it makes it so hard to get the refrag. But You want to know what? All the frags are coming in favour of Orange. Look at this, almost flawless until Atlantic answers back. Now it's up to Sauce and Atlantic to clutch this one now. And now down to Atlantic. It's a 1 versus 4 situation with 1:43 to get the plant down for these attackers. And look, the plant's going to start. But are we actually maybe going to see an ace clutch here from Atlantic? It's going to need to be as Sterksy's holding down Bar. The Vector in tow, but does he have any more C4s in pocket? We'll need to see. He's going for a retake upstairs. There is one player up there to meet him as we see the flash is coming out. We see where the orange outlines are. Is he going to be able to pick up this first initial frag, or is the round going to be shut out? Taking his time, just trying to see where the rest of these players are. He's training his gun on towards Tsunami, and now he needs to find 2 more players, but he's only got 7 seconds left to actually win out the round. Sterksy, he's playing passive. He's going to take out Atlantic, but he's actually not. And now the time is just passed. I mean, the time to actually defuse. Sterksy winning out the round, but the round was won, I mean, nearly 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had already long gone past the point of no return, so there, technically speaking, wasn't a whole lot that Team Atlas could have done in that position, but still, it was a great effort on the side of Atlantic, nearly clutching up big time with the 1v5 ace, but maybe in an alternate universe, maybe in a different multiverse, it could have happened. I don't know. Unfortunately, in this one, though, the one we currently live in, Team Atlas, they suffer a loss on their first defense, so they're going to be shifting gears and moving down to the basement to see if Veggie Patch are going to be at all ready for it. We'll just have to wait and see once again. A relatively, well, constant operator lineup on the side of Team Atlas, as they aren't flashing anything all too different. I believe that Hibana is new, though, on the side of Veggie Patch. I don't think she was played last time around. No, it was indeed Sterksy that was playing it last time around, so, okay. Also a very constant operator lineup on the side of the offense. You know, if it works and if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yeah, exactly. They've got the first round on this half. Trying to catch up to Team Atlas. But the thing is, though, as we head down to this bottom floor site, that is probably viable. That probably could be the case. As we know, again, we talk about statistics, we talk about trends, and I mean, the current trends are always that the attackers win this bottom floor site. Apart from, I mean, I think it was the last matchup that we did see it won by the defenders, but I'm just talking about general trends.
Yeah, general trends. Team Atlas, they won their attack on the base bomb side earlier in the first half of this match, and then the only sort of outlier was the CW versus PW matchup, in which we saw nothing but defense rounds down there. Although it was only visited, if I'm not mistaken, just the one time as well. But this is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, as apparently Veggie Patch, they've got an entirely different philosophy as to how they want to attack this basement bottom floor. Instead of putting any emphasis over towards that wine cellar portion of the map, they're getting this snowmobile breach open rather rapidly. Mute tricking was never a thing, and it's never going to be a thing. Those Selmas are going to dispose of that wall relatively easily, so keep trying, Rory, but it's not going to happen, I'm sorry.
He is without a doubt getting BM'd in a VC later for attempting that. Yeah. Looks as if Harambe's going to make his own entry in towards the kind of mudroom area. There's a drone in front of him to actually give him information for his entry, but it's Saki getting the entry on towards Stakes. That's our entry kill. That's the first one of the round, and a great one at that, because there goes your Nomad.
Not exactly sure if all of the air jabs were indeed placed. We'll only have to wait and see. But it's likely not. Stakes, poor man, has been having a rather nightmarish game of Siege this evening as he is sat on 0-8. But not. Yeah. He's been having a rather stellar match as he's able to find his 7th. Spacey Bobcat is able to shut down Saki's as well. So that doesn't exactly tie up the man count. It still sits firmly with Team Atlas, as Sterksy narrowly catches a glimpse of Atlantic's melon right there. But little does he know that Knot is immediately on his left-hand side. 9 o'clock is where he's got his attention pinned over towards for the time being, as Harambe is trying to force his way on in, but is absolutely domed. Lovely situational awareness exhibited by Not is able to, well, pick up the frag onto Harambe, and just like that, Team Atlas, they firmly sit in the driver's seat. 60 seconds, less than that actually, are left to play with for the time being. And it's down to Bobcat and Sturksy. They are worlds apart from each other. The moment that one pushes in, they will certainly go down because they have no refrag potential whatsoever. Heroic plays is what is being asked of them this time, but I fear that it might not be able to actually shine on through.
I think potentially Sturksy and Spacey Bobcat need to either somehow rejoin, or maybe we're actually going to see an entry here from Sturksy down into bottom floor. He knows there's a player in blue and in towards connector. Look where all the guns are trained. They're all trained onto where these two remaining players are left. And with 15 seconds remaining, we could potentially see a clutch here. The Sturksy gets one onto Sauce. Ooh. And look at this, all the trades come down, and it's down to a 2 versus 1, but not with a naughty. I mean, performance on the round 3. Great SMG kills. And Atlas get their 5th round, keeping that 2-round advantage intact.
Yeah, indeed. And all they need right now is 2 more rounds to close off Playday number 3 of Bool Season 3 right here. V-Patch, they gave it their all, but unfortunately enough, they lost out a lot of casualties rather heavily at the very, very start of the round. That's where things went south, and it became almost entirely unsalvageable for them. So hopefully they won't make the same mistakes the next time around, but we shall be shifting gears this time as we are heading back upstairs to, well, Master and Office. Last time around, well, not last time around because this is the first time the Team Atlas are actually visiting this bomb site. Last time around we actually did see this bomb site. Team Atlas, they were able to win it out on the attacking side as well. So Veggie Patch, they've got to realize that they have a real shot at actually taking this alt themselves. It's only a matter of time before we actually see all of these 10 players start basically gunning at each other, because that's what we really all came here for.
I just want them to like line up in a circle, get an air jab down, and just all start firing at each other and see who wins. Come on, that's exactly what we all want. Can we, Signs, can you put that in chat?
Can we just have like a mid-season clash showdown once again? It would be really fun if we could have a mid-season Bool clash just for the hell of it.
Well, Science said no to me, but I'm very sad. I mean, I doubt he would ever do that. Come on, Science is a professional here. Sorry, if you could only hear what's happening in our ears. Anyway, we're heading back to top floor site, and if I remember correctly, it was Veggie Patch to win it out. No, wait, sorry, that was downstairs in Baron Gaming. We've not actually been to this site yet, have we?
No, like I said, Team Atlas, they haven't visited this bomb site on their own defense. They did, however, win it out in the last round of the first half on the offense.
Well, the thing is, though, if they know how to win it on attack, surely that means they know how to defend it, because all you need to do is stop what you were doing right, if that makes sense. So, therefore, we see what setup they're going for, and there's no Mira, and again, there's no actually any rotates in towards bathroom. Stakes with a long angle, trying to maybe gain some sort of pick, see if they can catch anybody off guard. Harambe doing his entry work like he's done previous, trying to catch a player off guard, and it may be Ruri, it may be this Whammy that is on towards the rotate.
Yeah, Ruri had actually fallen victim to Harambe's entry 2 rounds ago, so he's going to be much more wary of, well, not falling prey to it once again. Or so I say that, but I'm going to have to eat my own words as Stakes is able to deal with 1 and 2 players. Stakes was asleep at the wheel this entire matchup, but he is finally coming alive as he's able to bag himself a double kill. I'm not exactly sure what Sturksy was doing inside a piano, but he just got killed, and so did Stakes. Tsunami's able to clap back with 1 onto Saki's as well, and that leaves us in a 3v1 situation as Atlantic now kisses the dirt. It's all down to Joe as the plant is going down in rapid time. Spacey is able to, well, basically reset that clock down to 45 seconds, and Joe, unfortunately enough, caught between a rock and a hard place, will basically breathe in his last breaths, and just like that, we have Veggie Patch keeping their opponents in check as they are able to win out their 4th round. We move into round number 10 with a 5-4 scoreline.
You got what you wanted, 2 doors. It is now, sorry, it was a flurry of kills, but it is now a 5-4 scoreline. We head back to Baron Gaming, and I can guarantee you, Veggie Patch, they won't get the entry kill like they got last time. That was really cheeky, and you want to know, it was well played from Harambe, being able to get in, dip out, something like a ghost again, the phantom pressure and all that created from it was beautiful. So how are Team Atlas gonna actually defend Veggiepatch? It ended up in a flurry of kills and a potential clutch situation from Atlantic, but it never came out. We don't want to see heroics, we want to see good rounds, we want to see good teamwork from Team Atlas. Maybe, not get distracted by that singular kill and focus on where the opposition is coming from.
There's just a lot of different ways to tackle exactly, I always struggle with trying to word things relatively delicately, but let's just say there's a lot of different ways that you can tackle your own mistakes and how to better them. On the side of Team Atlas, though, they didn't really exhibit all too many sort of major mistakes last time around. I think the one reason why it all went horribly wrong is the fact that, well, they just weren't able to keep that Ivy position alive for as long as they would have actually hoped to. I think it was... Well, I might be confusing... No, I'm definitely confusing things up. So ignore me for the time being, Twitch chat.
Yep. Well, I'll try to ignore you, but unfortunately I need to co-cast with you two.
Yeah, exactly. We work together. We can't ignore each other. We could try, but it would be horrible.
Could you imagine trying to cast while ignoring your co-caster? That would genuinely be a unique cast. Ruri is darting in towards Library, though. That's a unique play. I'm not used to seeing someone being so aggressive like that. Luckily enough, not enough guns were trained towards his position, and he's actually going to stay alive.
Indeed he is. Rory just landing some shots onto Bobcat is going to light him up ever so slightly, but unfortunately enough, he would have rather taken the headshot. Luckily enough for him, Saki's is down below, and he's got an angle onto not one, but two windows in case of V-Patch want to try to go on the aggressive this time around. We have yet to see any casualties, Bobcat nearly being the first, but it's a relatively slow approach on the side of Veggiepatch. They're not necessarily opting to deal with a lot of this top floor pressure the traditional way. Instead, they are opting to claim control of Library as soon as humanly possible. There's no one outside of Fluke to my knowledge, so... Oh, there is indeed Harambe out there, so he may kind of be the last missing piece of the puzzle when we're nearing its own completion. Atlantic down below and is in a very interesting position on top of the fireplace hatch, and just like that, V-Patch, well, they've claimed control of Library, but that's just half the story. Ooh. You've got to deal with Rory as he takes down one. He's looking for the second and gets Tsunami as well. He's hungry for more. He gets the third as well. He's showing no signs of stopping. Come on, Rory, get yourself the ace. You know you want it badly, and so do I.
Yeah, but do you want to know what Natty's going to get put in the dirt? Spacey Bobcat and Harambe left with it all to do. But remember, Rory's still on the board, and he's on 9 kills so far. All the players on Team Atlas have actually been showing up and proving why Veggiepatch aren't all to be what they're put up to be. Harambe taking out Rory, and now slowly the man count dwindling on Team Atlas. There's still this player on top of Ivy, and this is really a power position, to be honest. $2 when you think about it can shut down the whole Library corridor, and with two players actually needing to entry towards this position. Oh no, please don't tell me, Joe, you've looked towards the wrong position. Harambe closing in from below. There's also a player above, and Spacey Bobcat's able to get that frag. And now 2 versus 2 on site. Saki's with a beautiful kill onto the hatch. Atlantic closing out the round, and they move on to match point.
They have guaranteed themselves a single point, but naturally they want the full 3 to remain in contention throughout the rest of the season. Currently, they sit on a donut, if I'm not mistaken, and they are looking to pick up their first win of the season. And my oh my, what a win it would be if they're able to take down the Titans that are Veggiepatch. We have potentially 1 round left to play. And Team Atlas, they have certainly started to come alive, maintaining that 2-round gap between themselves and Veggiepatch that soon may become 3, as we could potentially head off to Master Bedroom and Office for the very, very last time. Last time around, it sadly didn't actually end off in their favor, so this is still a very real opportunity for Veggiepatch to strike back and keep themselves hanging on by a thread. We'll have to see exactly what happens the moment that we move on to the action phase, but Team Atlas, they were, quite frankly, caught off guard by Veggiepatch's aggression last time around, and I'm pretty sure that at this certain point with Veggiepatch playing with not a whole lot to lose, they might go for the exact same kind of high-risk, high-reward plays that just absolutely decimated Team Atlas last time.
Something that has to be said here is that, Veggiepatch are a good team, right? And with Team Atlas getting us points, this throws the whole league into like kind of bit of chaos with the fact that they're not going to be able to kind of keep up with the likes of Poggy Woggy or IOM. Obviously, we've still got more games to go for this kind of week, but I mean, that's really good for in terms of competition and who's going to get what places. We slowly start to set in place, I mean, the league standings almost. Looks like Veggiepatch, they're going to start their assault onto the site from Solarium. Again, we've seen it before, we've seen it many times in this Playday 2 doors. I mean, we've seen how these players can set up crossfires. The first gunfight going to be taken, and Rory almost being caught off guard again by the entry from Harambe, the grenade coming out, but not netting any kills. We saw it getting right towards NSJ Sauce, but he was able to escape with his life.
And now he goes back into the bathtub. I don't want to make the exact same kind of joke as I did earlier last hour, but for those of you guys that are actually just joining us right here, let me go ahead and make the joke. If it isn't already apparent, well, NSJ Sauce, he is clearly farming Twitch tier 3 subs inside of that bathtub.
Oh my
Don't
God.
mock me, science!
Can we get that application back out, please, for new co-casters?
Oh, shut up.
Right, well, we look towards what Veggiepatch are doing. They're just gaining information. There's nothing exciting happening yet, but there is something going to be given away. That's information towards these defenders. The goo mine being popped, and I mean, that drone made it all its way into bathroom and gave away that there is one player in towards closet. Sterksy making his entry in towards trophy, and I mean, I believe that was Atlantic that was actually roaming towards West Main. A great shot from NSJ Sauce, taking out Harambe, and now with the man count deficit, it's looking good for Team Atlas to take this map.
Indeed it is. You can see the crossfires that are already established and basically turned bathroom into a kill box. Saki's going for a very rancid play, is able to shut down Stakes, and Sturksy is the next person we have to wave goodbye to, as Rory's the culprit of that one. He's able to keep his life in tow, being left on a single digits worth of HP, and Bobcat, he is caught once again between a rock and a hard place, forced to ascend the Solarium stairs into the open, awaiting arms of Not. He goes, and just like that, the diffuser, it is stuck deep inside of enemy territory. It's down to Tsunami on the rappel outside of Solarium, basically a clay pigeon in this point. And at this certain point, there's not much that Team Atlas have to do aside from just letting the clock expire itself. 30 seconds left, and Tsunami, all he can really do is wait as well, potentially going for a Hail Mary play, but he's able to shut down Nod, but the second one is soon to follow. Very, very reminiscent of the olden days before Chalet saw its own rework of running out onto the master bedroom balcony rappel, but hey, that concludes our final matchup of Monday Night Buell, as Team Atlas, they were able to secure themselves 3 full points. And that means that they are going to quickly edge themselves all the way up to the top 4. Not necessarily overtaking the teams up there, specifically Men I Love Frogs, but hey, with each and every single win, they get themselves an inch closer to playoffs as well.
I mean, you've got to feel for Team Veggiepatch there. They were so close to catching up, but I mean, Team Atlas, they just got ahead. They were able to like create this chaos and I mean, capitalize on it. How many times did we see them go a man down, take that disadvantage and then claw it back? The clutches were, I mean, almost unreal from them. And I mean, how many times they almost, I mean, how many times do we see them lose out with those first 2 rounds, right? With like those 1 versus 1 situations that could have went in anybody's favor.
I mean, don't get me wrong, if we actually kind of maintain the exact same dynamic throughout the entire matchup of just each and every single round winning or sort of ending off in a 1v1 scenario, then we could have very well have either sat in a quick 7-0 victory courtesy of Veggiepatch or a random round number 15 overtime. It was really, really difficult to call, but still, it was a very, very great matchup on the side of Team Atlas, their first dub of the season, and unfortunately enough for Veggiepatch, their first loss of the season. But that effectively rounds everything off for Monday Night Buell, and keep in mind there is still broadcast tomorrow going on. We have got 2 matches to stream. So tomorrow we have got the Deviants going up against Lockdown Ludens, and we've also got Team 9 going up against Men I Love Frogs. And just like that, no, if we fast forward like 24 hours from now, Playday number 4 as well as week number 2 shall be concluded. But before we quickly round up the broadcast this evening, Cairo, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
No, I just want to thank everybody for actually allowing me to make my debut on the main season. I'm pretty buzzed to see the rest of the play days play out, because I mean, these teams are just going at it, and you can never call a play day. I mean, how with like the kind of earlier clutch from Poggy Woggy, I mean, that game from Team Atlas, me and you called Veggie Patch to gain the advantage, but just wasn't the case.
Indeed, it wasn't. It was a close affair between these two squads. Not as close as CW and PW, and the same thing can be said for IOM versus Team Trident. Yeah. This last matchup was the only one that didn't go to overtime, so that means we get to go off just a bit earlier than we thought. Yay! But with that being said, make sure to go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Not necessarily myself and Cairo, but be sure to do that as well. I'm talking about @Buell_GG to keep up to date on everything and all things Badass University All-Stars League. In case if you haven't already, go ahead and join our Discord. There should be a little link to the website. If not, there should be some banners down below in your browser that you can click on and become part of the community. So come on and join us. We're always looking for more people to have a laugh with. But with that being said, that rounds off Playday number 3 of week number 2 of season 3. I know there's a lot of commas in this particular title, but that concludes our evening for us. So we'd like to thank you guys so much for tuning in, but be sure to tune in tomorrow for the conclusion of week 2 as well. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow evening. So with that being said, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We salute you. Take care and have a great evening.